Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back. Today we are going to figure out how Bethesda destroyed its reputation. We got a video here from Selvin. Oh no, Selwyn. Sorry. Yeah, I can't see it. I'm looking at OBS. Um, I don't know if right off the bat. All right, my initial thoughts. I don't know if the reputation's completely destroyed, but I do know it is heavily damaged. It's like one critical hit away from being fucked forever. So with the remake on the horizon, let's hope it's good because that's the only way they're gonna get back in everybody's good graces.
Finally.
Maybe I should be a professional and fucking have everything set up before I start recording. Hold on a minute.
Awake.
Ah,
What if I told you that Bethesda isn't the studio you think it is?
uh-oh.
That Todd Howard, despite being the face of the company for decades, isn't the true architect behind The Elder Scrolls or
Uh-oh.
Fallout? What
Uh-oh.
if I told you their history is riddled with shady business deals and controversies that
Aw,
could
shit.
rival EA's most infamous moments? What if I told you that the disastrous releases of Fallout 76 and the disappointing Starfield are just the tip of the iceberg, symptoms of a deeper, more troubling story? Today, we will be peeling back the layers on Bethesda's meteoric rise, the cracks that began to form in their empire, their many legal entanglements, and the
Uh-oh.
unseen masterminds pulling the strings behind it all. So buckle up, it's going to be a long one. The year was 1994. 8 years after its founding, Bethesda was about to change the gaming world with the releases of The Elder Scrolls Arena, followed by Daggerfall in 1996. These procedurally generated, open-world RPGs blended deep role-playing elements with a fantasy world where you could be and do whatever you dreamed. This is where it all started, the lore we all love, the Daedra, the Temples of Light, the Nine Divine, Tamriel. In the first 20 hours of Daggerfall, I became a werewolf, learned how to infinitely fly with Levitate, stole my
Hmm.
way to infinite gold, summoned Sheogorath, and cured my lycanthropy so I wouldn't be hunted down the entire game by a lycanthrope hunter. Yep,
True.
it's all here. In 2023, Daggerfall received a Unity engine port, providing a fresh opportunity for players to revisit the origins of the Elder Scrolls with improved controls and significantly fewer bugs. Yes, even back then in the 90s, Bethesda had a reputation for releasing buggy games. This updated version not only enhanced the experience, but also reminded players of the immense scale of these early worlds, despite the
Right.
repetitive assets and sparse population resulting from its procedural generation.
I don't really have much of a opinion on this just because Daggerfall I've never really took the time to go back and play. I would say my main opinions will start probably when Morrowind comes around, because that's when I got into the Elder Scrolls. It's the first one I ever played. Um, and then I did play Elder Scrolls 4 a little bit. I don't think I ever completed that game, but I did play it. And then Skyrim is the one that really suckered me into the series.
Daggerfall was the size of actual countries, taking hours, even days to traverse, with over 15,000 cities, towns, and dungeons to explore. It offered an unparalleled sense of scale and role-playing potential.
You can choose to manually travel to places. Do you want to see what that looks like? If we were to run this at normal speed, the game just told me it would take 4 hours to do. That was from there to there.
Now, you have to take in mind, these games were janky and with many flaws, but they were ahead of their time, extremely ambitious, and redefined open-world RPGs, standing alongside genre titans like Ultima and Baldur's Gate, laying the foundational bedrock for the iconic Bethesda titles we cherish today. But behind the scenes, all was not as it seemed. Julian Lafay, director of Daggerfall and hailed as the father of the Elder Scrolls, abruptly left the studio in 1998, despite the series' massive success and promising future, citing concerns over the extensive changes in the company's corporate culture.
Everybody left. I mean, because nobody would stay
Yeah, I
there
get
for very
that.
long, right? It's just an awful place to work. I mean, basically, you came in, they wouldn't spend.
I do think there's multiple reasons like this is going to be a thing. You're gonna have some corporate turnover, especially back in the day, because back in the day you didn't make shit off of video games compared to nowadays. Nowadays, I mean, look at somebody like fucking Rockstar. Look at like GTA 5. You know how much they rake in? Not even with people buying the fucking game. It's people buying microtransactions in the game. Like the amount that they made, most studios don't make their entire careers. Like it's insane. It's insane. It's ridiculous. Um, so I think the margins for reward, risk to reward, is much different nowadays than it is back then. Back then, you probably made pennies on the dollar compared to today.
Any money in hiring people most of the time. Well, they got better, but so they hired people like next to no money, and they'll push that salary down, and then they would just work
Nobody
them
knew how to
brutally and
handle
so
it
on. It
back
was
in the
just
day either.
all kinds of agreements they had to sign, and they could get much better offers from elsewhere.
Clearly, something was amiss at Bethesda. Even before LaFay's departure, signs of trouble were evident.
Also, this is not a Bethesda Defender video. I just want you to know that. Because I do know that they do have a lot of workplace issues, drama that have been a part of gaming culture for a long time. Uh, yeah, it was a big thing. It was a big thing, and it's always been a big thing for Bethesda. Uh, but even when they had a good deal with Xbox, so you would think that they would put out a really good game from that, in that they could learn um, from the other studios that are a part of Xbox when it comes to making a new game, especially a brand new franchise game like a Starfield, for example. Because I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if anybody's gonna get Starfield 2 unless that shit looks absolutely insane. Nobody's gonna get Starfield 2. No one. A lot of people got hoodwinked out of $100 game. $100. In case y'all forgot, they charged $100 for that stupid fucking game.
The studio's mismanagement led to commercial failures with lesser-known
True.
titles like The Elder Scrolls Legends, Battlespire in
If I remember correctly, I think they almost went bankrupt like fucking 2 or 3 times. It's crazy.
1997, helmed by LaFay, and Redguard in 1998, led by a young
True.
Todd Howard, the one and only Howard who joined Bethesda in
I forgot
1994
about
just after
Redguard.
the release of Arena. And how he came to join Bethesda? Well, I'll just let him tell it.
I looked at the address on the box and realized that the office for this company was on my way home over, it was over Christmas break. So I drove into the office and just knocked on the door and said, I want to make games, and I like your stuff, and you're on my way back to school, so you should hire me. This is an excellent reason. They said, no. Why don't you wait till you graduate school?
That's
However, these commercial flops failed to capture the magic of the series, and with the low sales, Todd Howard's leading debut in the Elder Scrolls franchise pushed the company dangerously close to bankruptcy. And so, this is where things got interesting. Between 1998 and 1999, around the same time LaFay left due to changes to its corporate culture, Bethesda's founder and co-creator of the Elder Scrolls series, Christopher Weaver, and his new associate, Robert Altman, a lawyer, performed a dramatic restructuring. They split the company into
ZeniMax.
two
Yeah.
identities: Bethesda Game Studios for development and Bethesda Softworks for publishing.
So the biggest controversy that Bethesda has ever been a part of was literally all centered around ZeniMax. Okay, a lot of people hate ZeniMax. They think that they're out of touch. They think that uh, and to be fair, to be 100% fair, they are. ZeniMax doesn't know how to make games. They don't know anything about games. They're fucking stupid. Okay, they're gaming illiterate. Otherwise, Starfield would have been good. We would have had an Elder Scrolls by now. Fallout would have been good. Okay, but they just don't know games. So I'm sure that there's a bunch of corporate bullshit going on behind the scenes, putting Bethesda in a bind to where they don't get to do the thing that they need to do. And my hope was when I heard about the Xbox deal was that Xbox would push ZeniMax out, get rid of them, and you could take ZeniMax from this image, get rid of it, and put Xbox there instead. Because as much as people also don't like Xbox, you also got to understand that Xbox actually knows games. They know games. Whether you like to admit it, whether you don't like Xbox, whether you do, they know games. So the person that or the entity that you have at the top here, you want that to be somebody who is familiar with games. Not some real estate fucking bullshit, not some fucking some bank fucking whatever person running it, right? You don't want that to be the investor at the top because they don't know. They don't know shit. They will never know shit. They never played a game in their life. They just think it's an easy, lucrative thing that they could just pour some money into and get instant reward.
Under the newly formed
Look, even
ZeniMax
most
Media,
developers
the
don't know
studio
what the players
managed
want.
to survive, but not
The
without
good developers
cost.
do.
Robert Altman, now CEO of ZeniMax Media, was an intriguing and complex figure. So who was he, and why did we rarely hear of him when it came to Bethesda? Well, before pivoting to the gaming industry, Altman was a high-profile lawyer renowned for keeping prominent political figures out of prison. However, in the early 1990s, he found himself entangled in one of the largest financial fraud scandals of the time, the BCCI scandal. This global banking controversy involved an alleged $15 billion in fraudulent activity. Though Altman denied wrongdoing, the scandal left a lasting mark on his career, prompting his eventual shift to the corporate world. Then at ZeniMax, Altman leveraged his extensive connections to assemble what could only be described as a board of Avengers, a powerhouse of political and corporate influence. The board included the CEO of CBS and even Donald Trump's brother. Yet, this new corporate-driven environment clashed sharply with Christopher Weaver's technical vision, setting the stage for a power struggle that would define Bethesda's future.
Yeah, I think we're about to get into what a lot of people remember about the backstage drama. But to be honest, I really don't care about any of these people. None of them. Like literally none of them. Don't care about anybody here. Okay? All I care about is that these idiots here fork up all their money, fork up all their time, and they let the game develop. That's it. Just shut up, give me your money, and then fuck off. Okay? That would be me. If I ran my own game studio and those are my investors, that's exactly the speech I'm giving you. 100%. Just shut up, give me your fucking money, give me a better, longer, more extravagant timetable, and fuck right off. Okay? Have a nice day. We're gonna go make a game now. That would be me.
setting the stage for a power struggle
I don't
that would
care. I don't
define
care.
Bethesda's future. Rumors soon began to swirl. The board accused Weaver of underperformance in his role as CTO. Their allegations effectively led to his termination in 2002. Feeling betrayed, Weaver fought back, suing ZeniMax Media for $1.2 million in severance pay. But his
Damn.
case unraveled when evidence surfaced that he had accessed company emails and documents without authorization in an attempt to find proof of collusion against him. The lawsuit was dismissed, and Weaver was ousted from the company he had built from the ground up. This bitter fall.
I do think back then as well, companies weren't under like such a heavy microscope as they are today. So, like today, if you were to run this lawsuit back and reinstate the lawsuit tomorrow, 100% ZeniMax would have been found guilty. They would have been fucking fined a fuck ton of money because we are in a much different age where um, companies are pretty much put in this type of position where they are given an ultimatum. The ultimatum is basically you can settle this lawsuit for X amount of money, or we essentially just take away your ability to operate. And that's essentially how these lawsuits get settled. So when you see, right, any sort of lawyer speak, right, when you see uh example company pays out blah 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 amount of money, just know that they're basically paying to stay in business. Is all that is. That's all that is. They don't care about the victim. They don't care about fucking maybe they'll put out some PR thing because it'll make their company look better. Um, but for the most part, they're just paying to stay in business. That's all they're doing. Because it's either that or they get their license revoked and they no longer allowed to operate. That's it. I mean, that's usually what it comes down to. But I do think the rules back then, around the time when this was going on, they were different. I do think they were different. We didn't have the we didn't have the hyper advancement in technology that we do now. So even as like a CEO, a COO, you can't get away with shit. You can't fucking spit in the street and not have it being recorded nowadays. So yeah, it's pretty much damn near impossible to do anything under the table, behind closed doors. It's all going to be public knowledge. It's all out for everybody to see. There's no way that you can actually get away with that type of thing nowadays. But back then, when everything was still mostly paper, fax machines, and bullshit, yeah, sure, I could see that. I could see him getting away with it and coming up with a reason.
Fallout marked the beginning of a new era for Bethesda, one where ZeniMax Media's corporate priorities would pave the way for some of the most controversial practices in the gaming industry. By 2002, before corporate greed took root, Todd Howard, one of the few remaining developers, took the reins as project lead on the next installment of the Elder Scrolls series, the alien-like
Morrowind.
Morrowind would
Hell
go on
yeah.
to save Bethesda from financial collapse, selling over 4 million copies, becoming a critical commercial triumph
So
and
sick.
a fan favorite among gamers.
This is what I want a remake of, dude. I don't give a fuck about Oblivion, dude. Throw that fucking shit in the trash. I want I want this. I want a remake of Morrowind. If they're gonna remake any other game from now on, I want Morrowind. Please give me fucking Morrowind.
With Howard as if
Goddamn.
usurping Julian LaFay's role as the figure, the face behind the Elder Scrolls.
And we went into Morrowind. Man, there were six of us at the time, right? The studio had got
Usurping is a interesting term. I don't think it's usurping. I think it's pretty obvious what happened. What happened is he was a part of developing a game. That game was massively successful. as the head guy of said development of said game, uh, obviously the corporate office is going to see this and they're going to be like, nope, put him up, put him out there for the public to see. Because then it builds up to getting an Oblivion, getting a Skyrim, right? So that's obviously what are we talking about? Like, I'm not even usurp is like such a weird such a weird word to use for that when it's not. It's just it's an obvious like this guy is successful. He's good behind the camera. Fucking throw him out there for everybody to see. It's like the like easiest like corporate move I've ever seen in my life.
Gotten that small, and I was in charge of Morrowind. But by that time, once you get to that point, there was this element of no fear. Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? We could go out of business. Well, let's go all in. This is the game.
You see, originally
Facts.
Morrowind under LaFay was supposed to be a vastly different game, closer to Daggerfall.
This is what a lot of people like they felt weird about Starfield was Starfield felt like the safest Bethesda game they've ever made. Like it was so safe. Like there was no like risky dialogue, there was no like awkward scenes. Not awkward scenes, but like what's a better word to describe it? Gritty. Gritty. There was like no gritty scenes in there where it's like, "Oh shit. Oh shit. Can I show that?" Whereas like Skyrim has a bunch of those type of scenes. Oblivion had a bunch of those type of scenes. And even Fallout 4 had a bunch of those type of scenes. I don't know about 76. I never played 76. Uh but yeah, it's it's kind of crazy to go from that to Starfield where everybody says their pleases and their thank yous and we can't offend anybody, so let's just talk in the most bland, non-direct way as possible. It was horrible. It was such a bad experience. I don't think I got much time in Starfield. I think I stopped at like I think I put like 20 hours, 25 hours into that game before I dropped it. I was like, "Nope. I'm done." All these vast worlds and there's nothing in them.
But with his departure and the financial issues, we got a much less ambitious game in terms of scope than its predecessors, and still very buggy and
Also, I want to say that I'm okay with that. I'm okay that the game is not 50,000 miles long when it has nothing in it. I'm 100% okay with a more condensed world that is full and teeming with different things like a Skyrim. Like there's empty spaces in Skyrim, but they don't feel empty. You know why? Because there's an occasional fort that's full of fucking bandits you can beat the shit out of. If you go off this direction, there's a cave over there. You go in there, there's probably some werewolves or vampires that you can fight. You continue along the road and don't do any of that, and you might run into a thief. You might run into a couple of guys from the military fucking hauling away a prisoner. Like it felt alive, it felt real, right? You go from that, you go from that to Starfield, where I go to these planets and it just feels empty. It feels vast, but it feels empty. There's nothing there. I think the best joke to come from that was mining simulator. It's just the new Minecraft mod, the realistic Minecraft mod. Oh, it was like my favorite joke.
janky. But Morrowind marked a pivotal moment
Oh my
for
god, dude, look
Bethesda.
at that.
It laid the
Oh,
groundwork for their now signature
fuck, I want to
approach
play
to
Morrowind
open
again
world
now.
RPGs, bridging the old and the new Elder Scrolls, staying true to the philosophy of doing whatever you want and being whoever you wanted to be, but in a more intricate, handcrafted world that captivated players the minute they got off that boat.
True. Oh my god, so nostalgic.
Todd Howard was celebrated as Bethesda's savior, a status likely approved by ZeniMax board executives. However, not everything was as rosy as it seems. Howard's leadership and vision would, in hindsight, clash with the original ideals of the Elder Scrolls, first set by LaFay and his team. Beneath the surface, his growing influence and a philosophy of simplification, touching on gameplay, narrative, and artistic direction, was quietly taking root, shaping the company's future.
But like I was saying, we go at it each time with, let's not just look at the last one and say, what does it need? You know, I think most people, most fans will look at it and say, it's great.
This is the part where I tell you that game developers don't know what the players want. I told you. I said it. I said it earlier. I said it earlier. And this is where we're at. That's exactly what they want, Todd. That's exactly what they want. They want you to go back to Skyrim, figure out what are all the things that we did right, what are the things that the fans say we did wrong. Make the fucking game again. Make it again. And then you take that, you go in, you fix all the things that the players didn't like, you change it up, you maybe add a new system or two, okay? And then that's it. That's all you need. And then that game is an instant seller. You know how I know that? Anybody ever heard of Dark Souls? Anybody? No? Oh. Oh, you did? You have. Oh, okay, cool. Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, Elden Ring, Elden Ring Night Rain. All of them. High, high, high selling games. Everybody loves those games. Everybody continues to talk about the Souls-like genre because of how important those games have become to gaming culture. Elder Scrolls could have been that, but Bethesda moved away from that to innovate. We don't need innovation. We want you to make fucking Skyrim again in a new world with new lore and a couple of new systems that make the gameplay feel better, more immersive, and more interesting to be in. That's it. That's all we need. We didn't need Starfield. They wasted so much fucking money on Starfield for that fucking bullshit to flop.
You should change the leveling, add spears, add crossbows, add this, and add some more races. And I usually approach it from, well, I want to know what skills are superfluous, that we should fold into something else to make the choice of what your character is more meaningful, make that choice more meaningful. And how are the races different? You know, I think 10 races is enough. How is playing an orc different than playing a high elf? Or, you know, those kind of things.
Adding to the
I agree
shifting
with that. I do agree with that. It really should feel different. It really should. And oddly enough, I think that's one of the criticisms people have had for Skyrim is that, like, uh, and that's one of the most popular mods as well. It's a race tweaking mod that adds specific race buffs and debuffs to specific races based on the lore that exists for the Elder Scrolls. Um, one of the biggest things that this is why there's such a disconnect, and you need to have a developer who is among the fans, is because the fans will give you direct feedback, and if you listen to it, you'll be successful. If you don't listen to it, then you'll not be successful unless you're GTA 5. Because GTA Online, Rockstar don't listen to shit. I ain't gonna lie. They don't fucking listen to nobody for nothing, okay? But occasionally, occasionally, they'll dangle that little fruit in front of you. They'll dangle the grapes in front of you. And they'll give you a couple. Okay, a couple of them suckers will fall off, and then you can pick it up off the fucking floor. That's how Rockstar gets away with it because they will do slight changes, very, very slight, and not very often. Whereas you have an alternative company the developers for PoE 2 who are the opposite of that. They're doing live streams. They're doing live streams, taking questions directly from the fans, and they are going through, taking in feedback, constantly responding on Twitter to criticisms and optional things that people want to see. Those are those are the developers that people want. They want the PoE 2 developers because they listen to the fans, they're among the fans. Those are the ones that are called quote unquote good developers because they listen, they take the feedback. Maybe they will implement it if they can see it work. Maybe they won't. Maybe they don't feel it's right for the game design. And they've said it before uh, in a few different interviews when people have asked certain questions of systems that they would like to see, and they're just like, no, it doesn't really fit for our game. Totally understandable. Nobody was mad at that. You know why? Because 99% of the other shit they've listened to. It's like the old saying, like, if you give an inch, they'll give a mile, right? Sometimes you just gotta fucking listen. You gotta shut up, listen, and just make a good game.
Dynamics was the arrival of Emil Pagliarulu, a divisive lead
Whoa.
writer and designer whose influence on future Elder Scrolls and Fallout titles would spark its own share of controversies.
KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. We are actually at a state now in the development of the studio. We don't have a lot of extensive design documentation. We found that probably after we hit Fallout 3, the design docs that we had became outdated very quickly.
Following a similar philosophy of simplicity, a figure we'll delve into later. Over the next few years, Bethesda skyrocketed in popularity with the releases of The Elder Scrolls Oblivion, Fallout 3, and of course, Skyrim. To put this into
True.
perspective, Skyrim has sold an astounding 60 million copies to date.
And people still play it. It's touted as a lot of people's favorite game of all time, including myself. I still fucking play Skyrim. I'm not gonna pretend like I don't. I have it literally sitting on my desktop with 303 mods. 305 mods actually. I think I added two.
Making it one of the best-selling games of all time, spanning 17 different releases across 3 generations of consoles.
That's fucking insane. Oh man, that was such a meme. And one of the things here's the thing that annoys me about Todd Howard and Bethesda is that he does pay attention. He does hear about things. He does know things from fan feedback because he's memed about it. He's memed about it at E3 on stage live in front of fucking everybody. So he knows the criticisms that are there. He knows the memes that are there. That's why you got the Skyrim being released on Alexa, the Skyrim being released on a smart fridge, you know? The memes they took full advantage of, but they didn't take full advantage of the criticism. And that's where you kind of lost it, right? That's where their the disconnect really is they enjoyed the good stuff, but they didn't act on the bad stuff. So then we got a Starfield. So we got a Fallout 76, you know?
Milked to the absolute perfection. For comparison, Oblivion
True.
sold close to 10 million copies, marking one of the most impressive growth stories in gaming history. However, despite their commercial and critical success, and
Look
the
at that old
countless
ass
fond
computer.
memories
Goddamn.
they have created for so many of us watching this video, Bethesda's design philosophies that would
Yes.
eventually lead to their downfall were slowly taking root. Worse still, their anti-consumer practices and unchecked greed were lurking just beneath the surface.
Is he about to talk about
This
online?
is the 27th of last seed, the year of Akatosh 433. These are the closing days of the Third Era and the final hours of my life.
When Oblivion was released in 2006, the gaming community was in awe at the grandeur of the
This shit was
massive, detailed
crazy.
world presented by Bethesda, staying true to the philosophy of doing whatever you want and being whoever you wanted to be.
Facts.
But just 2 weeks after this massive success, Bethesda embarked on a bold experiment: market test cosmetic DLC. You know it, everybody knows it, the infamous horse armor. The price was $2.50, a bargain for today's microtransactions, but was seen by the community and Bethesda themselves as too expensive.
I do think back in the day there was a much bigger dichotomy between whether microtransactions were a good thing for gaming. According to the companies, though, and a lot of you stupid idiots out there, it is highly, highly lucrative because y'all buy each loot box, y'all buy each fucking Apex fucking what are they called? What's the currency in Apex? Apex coins or whatever the fuck they're called. Uh, y'all buy fucking hundreds of dollars of those. Gotcha exists. Otherwise, it wouldn't exist. But all y'all are fucking horny little bastards, and you keep fucking farming for those waifus. So, yeah, yeah. If you don't want microtransactions to exist, you need to stop buying microtransactions. Anybody ever heard of Assassin's Creed Valhalla? Ah, holy! They gave you 4 copy and paste DLCs. Because Dawn of Ragnarok actually had like some unique stuff put in it, so I won't count that one. But everything before that, utter fucking garbage. Garbage. Total trash. Copy and paste. Everything. And then there's like hundreds of fucking different things that you can buy. Not hundreds. Well, maybe. I don't know. They did add a lot. They added a lot. You can even have fucking Destiny 2 skins in Assassin's Creed. Fucking what? Fucking what? How does that make any goddamn sense? Stupid. But a bunch of you fucking losers bought that shit. And I'm one of them. I didn't buy any of the like cosmetic stuff for the most part, to be honest. I did buy the DLCs though. I did buy the DLCs. Um I think I bought the first 2 DLCs and I was like, what the fuck is this? And then eventually after Dawn of Ragnarok came out and then they had a that's when Valhalla had dropped off exponentially. So you could get the complete or the ultimate, whatever the fucking final edition was called. You can get that for like fucking $30. So I was like, fuck yeah, I'll just rebuy it for $30 and get everything. So I did. So I am also a problem, but I didn't buy the microtransaction bullshit. I just got that from the different like events and stuff. And then got my opals and I traded in my opals and I got my different armors and stuff like that. So, yeah. But to be fair, I like enjoying my heritage, okay? So, I was going to put money into that game mm, whether y'all like it or not, to be honest. Anyway, yeah, there are good ways and bad ways to do microtransactions. PoE 2, I'm going to bring it up again. Perfect way to do microtransactions. You don't need to buy the shit in PoE 2. You can just play the game. Now, is your inventory going to fucking suck? Yes. Do you have to go empty it out constantly? Yes. But or not the inventory, the like the storage fucking boxes things. Yeah, yeah. Is it annoying? Yes. Yes, it's annoying. It's a fucking thing. But you could still play the game for free. Well, I mean, on release, you'll be able to play it for free. Uh, if you join the early access like me, you had to pay the $30 to get in on the early access. But shout out to all the monk mains out there. I'm still waiting for the druid. I need the druid to drop so I can fucking play as the druid. I want to be a big old bear.
with fans arguing that should cost no more than 50 cents. Others sounded the alarm,
Makes
foreseeing
sense.
a slippery slope where games would deliberately withhold cosmetic items to sell them piecemeal rather than allowing players to unlock them naturally through gameplay. But here's
Again,
the
the easiest
kicker:
way to beat
despite
that
the
is not buy it.
backlash, Horse Armor proved to be massively successful. According to Todd Howard, it
Yep.
became one of the most successful DLC Bethesda had ever released. As developers smugly put it, you are all making fun of it, and yet you buy it.
Who's laughing now?
A silly idea, perhaps, but one that inadvertently launched a billion-dollar cosmetic industry with
Yep.
Bethesda sitting right at its center.
I think the big thing is the AI we have in the game. We designed this system, Radiant AI, that allows the people in the world to react really intelligently, and they sort of have their own goals, so they can look at their environment around them and decide how they want to accomplish them.
But Oblivion wasn't just a pioneer of microtransactions in AAA gaming. Bethesda's ambition propelled open-world titles forward with a massive leap, not only through its sprawling world and unparalleled
So many games have tried to recreate the Skyrim effect, and it is insanely hard to do. It really is. To make a world that is not only ridiculously open, vast, not lock in the player to any sort of thing. Uh, I mean, Elden Ring is pretty close, but it's got too much of the Souls like blood in it for it to really get that Skyrim effect. So it just barely misses. Otherwise, if it was less Souls like and it was more like Skyrim, I would almost guarantee that it would have sold the same amount of copies. It's insane, insane. But I think that would actually be a super cool thing if FromSoft wanted to do that and make their own Skyrim-like game. It would be nuts. It would be nuts. They could do it. They could do it and then, like explain the lore of the Souls-like games through an expansive open world where you get to be the main character who walks through this lore, really lore heavy world and make it more of like a Skyrim-esque game where you still have like an occasional boss or two, but it's not like a super boss heavy like super Souls-like game, you know.
freedom, but also its
I think it
groundbreaking
would sell
physics and
fuck
AI.
it
These
would just fuck
innovations
with copies,
fueled
bro.
its
Fucking with
resounding
copies.
success, establishing it as one of the earliest open-world games where NPCs boasted dynamic routines and lifelike activities. Yet, true to Bethesda's tradition of buggy releases and Todd
True.
Howard's desire for overpromises, the much-touted Radiant
That shit
AI
was
proved
hilarious.
easily exploitable. What was meant as a revolutionary system often devolved into an unintended comedy.
By the Nine Divines! Assault! 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 Such violence! Such violence!
This duality cemented Oblivion's and even Bethesda's legacy as a cherished, charming gem, brilliant yet undeniably flawed.
Farewell.
And those lofty promises didn't stop there. During the promotion of Fallout 3, Todd Howard often boasted in interviews that the game would feature 200 or even 500 different permutations of endings.
Well, the endings are kind of, they're dynamically strung together. So the ending number we have right now, if you add it all up, every permutation, everything's like 500.
In reality, players were presented with only 4 distinct endings to choose from, 5 if you included the DLC. But even worse, those same DLC showcased Bethesda's anti-consumer practices once again, this time not with horse armor, but with timed exclusive DLC.
I guess like the calling it anti-consumer in some context makes sense, but you can't really argue with the numbers. When they drop a DLC, even if it's just cosmetic, and it sells 2-3 billion fucking little DLC copies, it's it's really stupid to say it's anti-consumer when all the consumers bought it, you know?
Partnering with Xbox, Bethesda became one of the early adopters of this practice, locking
Right.
content away for a time in exchange for a deal.
We're happy to announce that we're
Also, they're still like very non-intrusive when it comes to content. If anything, they're actually paying the community to make content. So when it comes to like harping on microtransactions, like Call of Duty, you're buying these skins and you get nothing. You get nothing out of it. Okay. And it's not made by the community, it's made by the developer, right? Um, Whereas Bethesda, you have all of these people, because everybody knows one of the things that Skyrim is infamous for is its modding scene. It's the reason the game is still relevant today, is because its modding scene has kept it alive. People fucking love the game that much. It was such a perfect, like, little creative slate for people to build an expansive world on that it has survived a test of time that a game like that probably wouldn't have. It would still be a great game, don't get me wrong, but it wouldn't be relevant fucking 10 plus years after it's fucking been released. No shot. Wait, it came out in 2011, so that's 9, 14 years. We're almost at 15 years that Skyrim's been around. That's insane. Um, and with that comes Creation Club, which I'm sure they'll probably bring up in the video, but I really don't slander Creation Club. You know why? Because like there is some content from Bethesda on there, but a lot of the content now is people who are modding the game for free, making nothing. Maybe you got some kickback from Nexus. I don't know. I don't know how Nexus works. But you essentially made nothing. You were just doing it to do it. But now you have people like Eleonora, who was making home mods, and her home mods were so well received in the community. Bethesda now pays her through the Creation Club. She can make money now. That's amazing. That's fucking amazing. I can get behind that all day. If microtransactions evolved to community creations that get implemented into the game, yes, I'm all for that because that just creates a whole new creative market for the game, for the players. Who better to have make a DLC, make a fucking a quest mod, make a fucking a follower mod, make a horse armor than the players themselves? Makes sense to me.
We're going to be doing substantial downloadable content for Fallout 3, and it will be exclusive to the Xbox 360 and games for Windows.
Once
Damn.
again, Bethesda positioned itself at the forefront, not of innovation, but of monetization strategies that often left players divided. However, Bethesda faced yet another challenge with Fallout 3, one that would also set a precedent for their future. You see, in 1997, way before Bethesda took over the Fallout franchise, it was a beloved series of isometric CRPGs developed by Black Isle Studios and Interplay, a series created by Tim Kaine and Leonard Biorsky, legendary names in the RPG world. But by the early 2000s, Interplay was in financial freefall. Ambitious projects like Van Buren, their planned Fallout 3, were cancelled, and their Fallout MMO was barely hanging on. Tim Kaine, Leonard, and many others left years prior, predicting Interplay's downfall to settle Troika Games, but by 2004, a shark entered these blood-infested waters. Enter Bethesda. In 2004, they licensed the Fallout IP, but by 2007, they bought it outright for only $5.75 million, a fraction of its estimated $50 million valuation, which included the Fallout MMO. Bethesda refused this offer, instead allowing Interplay to retain the rights to develop the MMO under very strict conditions, requiring them to meet funding and development milestones. Bethesda that same year then funded their own ZeniMax Online Studios, dedicated for MMO development, one day leading to the Elder Scrolls MMO. As for the original
Story for
creators,
another time.
Leonard stated that he was extremely disappointed that they didn't get the chance to make the next Fallout game. We have always felt that Fallout was ours and it was just a technicality that Interplay happened to own it. It sort of felt as if our child had been sold to the highest bidder, and we had to just sit by and watch. By 2009, it was clear Interplay couldn't deliver. Despite a beta sign-up page, the studio was near bankruptcy, and so Bethesda sued for breach of contract, claiming Interplay failed to meet the agreed milestones and accusing them of unlawfully selling the original Fallout games on digital platforms like Steam. The legal battle dragged on until 2012 when Bethesda settled out of court, paying $2 million to acquire the full rights to the Fallout MMO, and with the project officially cancelled, Bethesda secured complete control of the Fallout franchise for a fraction of the original price tag. It was
I think they did pretty good. I ain't gonna lie. Yeah, 76 is a dumpster fire. We all know that. But we had the Fallout. We had the Fallout TV show, which absolutely popped off. My God, it was so good. I'm ready. I'm ready. I can't wait. I can't wait till we get more of that, bro. I need more. I need so much more, bro. Um, yeah. Fallout 4 was good. I liked Fallout 4. Then you had like Fallout New Vegas, which I know was made by Oblivion, but um, it was approved and then released by Bethesda. But Fallout 76 was definitely a rough patch there for sure. But I do think there's still potential for a new Fallout. Um, the only thing that kept me from getting into Fallout the way I got into Elder Scrolls was I didn't like the preset lore for you. So like you awaken in Fallout 4, for example, you awaken as a guy who lost his child, who wants to find his child. So your lore is preset for you already. Uh, I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. Whereas in Skyrim, for example, just because they're fairly relative on release time, uh, in Skyrim, for example, you're the Dova king, but you don't know that. Ain't nobody told you shit yet. You are essentially just this warrior who was about to go to prison and has a second chance at life, and you can go off in any direction. You could do anything you want. Because I remember my first playthrough, I didn't even start the main campaign until I was like level 30. I was level 30 by the time I started the main campaign. I had gone off in every other direction, found myself in many scenarios that I couldn't win, and also found myself in many scenarios where I could win. And I was geared up. I was fucking looking good. Made too many daggers at that point. Oh man, the nostalgia of it is so good. But that's what made Skyrim a truly unique, special experience because no other game ever has been able to give you that same feeling ever. And we're not even going to talk about Avowed. Oh my God, we're not going to talk about Avowed.
Was a masterclass in ruthless business tactics. Bethesda secured the bag, saving millions.
Also, this is nothing new. I mean, you can call it some corporate fucking scheme bullshit. Is it? Could you say it's bad from a moral standpoint? Yes, but we're talking about corporations here. There's no morality in corporations at all. Never. You know what happens to corporations with morality? I don't, because they don't exist. Because if corporations cared about moral ethics, right, then your cell phone wouldn't be made by slaves. But it is. Your Nike shoes wouldn't be made by slaves. But they are. Okay? Maybe not all the way, but where do you think the fucking batteries come from? They got to be fucking made somewhere. And in order to do that, you need an element. In order to get that element, you have a bottom tier of workers that are down there slaving away in mines getting that element. Is it unfortunate? Sure. But you don't see me fucking complaining. I own the bitch. So yes, there are levels to it. And at some point you gotta leave your fucking morality at the fucking door. Okay? Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. There is nothing that has ever been built in this world that isn't built off the back of somebody who's probably fucking starving. I'm just gonna be honest with you. And that includes your clothes. All that shit before your clothes are even made has to be sourced from somewhere. There will always be levels. Always going to be levels to it. Okay? And that's just life. That's just life. Nothing you're gonna do today that's gonna change that shit tomorrow. So yeah.
Interplay's dreams were crushed, and Fallout fans were left wondering what could have been. This case, much like the horse armor controversy, marked the beginning of Bethesda's long history of lawsuits, such as the time in 2011 that they sued Notch, creator of Minecraft, over the game title Scrolls, as it infringed on the Elder Scrolls IP. Finally, Notch offered to settle the lawsuit through a match of Quake 3, but to no avail. Eventually, it ended in a settlement, with the game's name being changed.
Fallout 3 is garbage.
Wait, what? They settled that shit? I don't I don't really think that this is a Bethesda or anybody else thing. I think this is just a retarded judge thing. Like if I'm a judge and my goal is to settle the lawsuit between the plaintiff Bethesda, or the plaintiff would actually be ZeniMax because they would sue on behalf of Bethesda. Um, so if the plaintiff is ZeniMax and they are suing over the IP rights of Bethesda Softworks, or Bethesda, whatever game studios, um, over the name of Elder Scrolls, the copyrighted, name of Elder Scrolls, and you're suing Notch, the developer of Scrolls. If I'm a judge, I'm looking at Bethesda or I'm looking at ZeniMax and I'm saying, you guys are fucking retarded. Go home. It's Scrolls. Scrolls is not specific to anybody's fucking IP. Okay, what are you gonna fucking you gonna go over to fucking Egypt and you're gonna remove the scrolls from their fucking museum because they're called scrolls? You gonna go over to fucking China, Japan? You're gonna remove their scrolls too because they're all called scrolls. You're gonna make them change the name of their scrolls? Like that's so stupid. That's retarded. And this no different than fucking Nintendo does the same goddamn shit. They fucking copyright Air and they expect everybody to follow that IP. Like fuck off. Fuck off. Like how about you focus less on going after people for IP rights and you focus more on making a Pokemon game that doesn't look like it's still made for the fucking 3DS, okay? Jesus Christ. I saw the trailer for the fucking brand new Pokemon game that's supposed to be coming out. Dog shit. Dog shit. Unfortunately for you guys, the audio was fucked up for that. So that one never saw the light of day. But the game looks like ass. Everything is still pixelated. You can't get a fucking solid circle bush to save your goddamn life. You can actually see like the lamps and stuff that are completely hexagonal. I can't even do circle lamps. And you want me to buy your fucking game for $70? You fucking idiot.
And here's why. The first two
So ass.
Fallouts comprise some of the best games ever. Virtually nothing else comes close. I'm going to talk about what makes the first two Fallout games good a lot in this video, but it's important to keep in mind that even without comparisons to the previous games, Fallout 3 fails on its own merits too.
But the story of Fallout 3 doesn't end there. When it was first released, despite getting 12 million sales and glowing reviews, through its many bugs and crashes, many original fans of the franchise, especially coming over from the oldest running Fallout fan website, No Mutants Allowed, criticized the many changes Bethesda had made, from lore to the emphasis on action over RPG mechanics like player choice, saying it wasn't a Fallout game but something else entirely, blaming the big corporate company and Todd for ruining their franchise.
Well, you can't blame Todd. Todd isn't the one that can say no to these decisions. I mean, I really hope like people are smart enough to realize that the developers, yeah, maybe you got some bad actors who are purposely like putting bad shit in games, right? That's obviously a thing. But majority of decisions on what a game is and how it becomes the way it is from the shareholders. If the shareholders say this game needs to make more money this time around, throw 50,000 microtransactions into it, then you have to do it. There's no saying no unless you want a new job. So if I'm Todd Howard, I'm doing it the way that Bethesda has done it. I'm putting it in a situation to where I have control until at some point an Xbox comes along, somebody who understands games and says, "Sorry, ZeniMax, we're gonna push you out now. We're the ones making the decisions now." Until that point, what are you gonna do? Because it's no different than Mark Zuckerberg having to bow down to the Biden administration when Biden's people called up Facebook and they said, "Hey, you're taking all this shit down. You're censoring this shit. Don't let it hit your platform." If I'm Mark Zuckerberg, I'm saying yes. You know why? Because the government at any point in time can just say, "Hey, you know that license to operate in the US? You know that fucking license that gives you the right to even do business in the US? It's gone. It's toast. Your IP no longer exists." Because they can do that. They can. So, there's always a bigger fish, and sometimes you just got to suck it up and listen. So, I'm not going to go completely against Todd here. Um, maybe he pushed for some of this behind the scenes. I don't know. I don't work there. I've never met the guy. I don't know, you know, but he seems, from what I've seen over however many years now, that that wouldn't be his MO. And clearly, it's not because it is very favorable towards people like me, fans, rather than a typical loot box, fucking Apex coins, fucking whatever, Call of Duty skin. So, yeah.
quickly earning the nickname Oblivion with Guns. Regardless of what we might think of this modernization, it was an extremely successful and beloved game for Bethesda, bringing numbers that the original creators could only dream of. Not only that,
True.
but it placed Fallout on a map of pop culture and even releasing a successful TV show. But
Hell
over the
yeah.
coming years, if the
Fucking love that
fans
show.
thought those changes were bad or regressive, they would soon be sent into a coma. But for now, in just 2 short years, something amazing was about to happen.
Yep. They did kill it. This is a lot of people's favorite Fallout game.
Fallout New Vegas is often held up as the pinnacle of modern Fallout games. Ironically, it wasn't developed by Bethesda but by
Right.
Obsidian Entertainment, the successors to Blackout Studios with many of the original developers. New Vegas, although also very buggy at launch, offered
Yeah, Obsidian has the same problems Bethesda does. I mean, we saw it with Avowed, no different. And the way that they kept you from making those same buggy ass mistakes in Avowed was they just didn't let you do anything. It just, they just didn't let you do shit. And it's crazy to like see this game where they were really like they weren't afraid to push the envelope, be risky, be gritty. And then you get Avowed and you're like, is this really made by the same studio? The fuck?
richer narratives, deeper player choice, and a more immersive open world. It built upon the foundations of the original Fallout games in ways that Fallout 3, developed by Bethesda, didn't. Despite its acclaim, there's a tragic story behind it. Bethesda reportedly structured Obsidian's developer bonuses around a Metacritic score target of 85 or higher. Tragically, the game fell short, earning an 84, leading to layoffs. Now, New Vegas and Bethesda are the target of many conspiracy theories, and New Vegas won't be the last. Many claim Bethesda sabotaged the project by forcing Obsidian to develop the game under an impossible 18-month deadline.
I would be more suspicious if since we have an Obsidian now, which hold on, we're gonna do some impromptu research in the video here. Pull this up. Okay, perfect. I would lean more toward Bethesda being the bad guy if we now have an Obsidian who is no longer a part of Bethesda but a part of Xbox Game Studios. So with this resource, with Xbox as their publishing resource, we got Avowed. I don't know that, and maybe there was some sort of bullying behind the scene between Bethesda and Obsidian, but they can't make good games now. So if they can't make good games now, because like a lot of people like Outer Worlds was dog shit too for the longest time. Because when I played it, it was in its peak. Okay, when I played it, like not like peak players, but peak as in Obsidian spent a lot of time fixing the fucking game. Because a lot of people, Outer Worlds was just not playable. But now, the point that it's at now, perfect. Perfect. I would play that game over and over again. It's a space game that is somehow better than Starfield. That's insane. And then we have Outer Worlds 2, which I'm hoping uh, is not another Avowed. Jesus Christ. Uh, because if it is, I will be the first one to absolutely just demolish Obsidian. But yeah, they're no longer a part of Bethesda. They're just a part of Xbox Game Studios. So even with that resource, they can't make good games. So that being said, do you think that Bethesda is the sole reason that Obsidian did not get as much out of Fallout as they expected? Sure, sure. You can argue a little bit, but I do think the fault lies with Obsidian because if they still can't make good games, even when they're not under the umbrella of an Xbox or of a Bethesda, then what are we talking about?
leading to its technical shortcomings and in turn lower score. That said, Chris Avallone, lead
I don't
designer
think
on
so.
new video
I don't think so. I think they don't know how to make a game that doesn't have bugs in it. It's no different than Bethesda. They do the same shit.
Vegas clarified that while the development timeline was tight, there was no intentional sabotage. However, there was mismanagement by Obsidian. So, with all of this in mind, by the time we get to Skyrim in
Yeah, I
2011,
wouldn't be
we
surprised.
already had a company that set in motion microtransactions in single player games, fueling their corporate greed, shady and aggressive business tactics, anti consumer practices, and was only gonna get worse. But did people care? No, because Skyrim was about to change the world.
It's, for us, all little things.
You can't solo out Bethesda for microtransactions either because maybe they were part of the reason it started, but the real fault is the consumers. It's your fault. You're the one who bought the stupid fucking horse armor. If you didn't want microtransactions to be a thing, the only thing you had to do was not buy the stupid armor. If you did that, then microtransactions would have never been a thing because they would have seen it. They would have said, okay, we made this shit and it didn't sell a single copy. Why the fuck would we ever do it again? But because it sold fucking however many fucking billions of dollars in that industry, now it's so far beyond that point. You have an Assassin's Creed Valhalla. So the real fault is the consumer on that. As far as the legal battle shit, obviously it's some petty fucking shit. I don't think it's the if they want to go after somebody for trying to infringe on their copyright, sure, fine, whatever. But I think that's a failure of a judge more than anything else. The judge's only job was to literally tell Bethesda to go the fuck home and rethink their life and then give Notch the immunity he needed to continue to fucking um I don't know if that game was either in development or if it had been released or whatever. But yeah, that's all they needed to do, really. It's really all they needed to do. Um, because yeah, the name Scrolls does not copyright fucking Elder Scrolls. Fuck off. Now, if they fucking made a game called The Elder Scrolls, then obviously that makes sense. But out of the context of Elder Scrolls, and let's say they made the game Scrolls, right? But the gameplay was exactly carbon copy of the Elder Scrolls game, then I would see, okay, if I'm the judge and I saw that, and I was like, oh, okay, well, you literally just copied their fucking homework, changed the name, and expected me to fucking give you the rights? No, fuck off. Get out of my courtroom. You lose. Judging in the plaintiff, right? Uh, yeah, I just, what the fuck?
Things that you're seeing here, like plants, micro detail, big epic things like
But
mountains.
yeah,
You
if
can
he's
walk
just
to the
using
top of that
scrolls,
mountain.
that's
So we really deal with
absurd.
levels of detail, streaming that in. We have to draw everything. We can't hide it. You know, being able to look at all these plants, pick up the flowers. We're really big into just suspending your disbelief that you are in this world.
Skyrim set a cultural movement with open world
Facts.
RPGs and games in general, setting the spark of a whole wave of open world games in the year.
Never has any other game accomplished what Skyrim has. And I don't know if we ever will. Because unless we get a return to form by Bethesda on an Elder Scrolls 6, I don't think we'll ever have that feeling again, to be honest. I don't think we will. Because Inquisition, it was good, but you were in between two very narrow guardrails. Zelda, I've never played it. The Witcher 3 was also good, but again, you were on strict guardrails. Uh, Kingdom Come Deliverance, same thing, strict guardrails. So you will never have that same experience, I don't think, because the what made Bethesda special and Skyrim special was that there was no guardrails. Like I could play Skyrim for 100+ hours, never even doing the main campaign. You can't do that shit in The Witcher. Eventually, you have to play the main campaign. Kingdom Come Deliverance, you have to play the main campaign. Dragon Age Inquisition, same thing. Zelda, I'm assuming the same fucking thing. So they come close, and they are great games, but they are not, and they will never be a Skyrim great game.
Years that followed. However, beneath the surface of what most would agree was an amazing and now nostalgic RPG with impressive exploration and immersion, fans of the series were beginning to voice criticisms, not just of Skyrim, but the direction of the franchise as a whole.
Borrowing the narrow corridor tricks many AAA games at the time were using, this introduction is out of place in a game where 95% of the time, you aren't experiencing that sort of staged excitement. This shift is most readily explained by the departure of the lead designer of Oblivion and Morrowind, Ken Ralston, and the entrance of Emil Pagliarulo, who created the Dark Brotherhood questline for Oblivion and led the design team on Fallout 3, now as senior designer and writer for Skyrim.
Todd Howard and Emil Pagliarulo's philosophy of simplification finally revealed itself with Skyrim. While this design shift had already sparked some criticism from hardcore fans, starting with Fallout's reboot and Oblivion's more action-oriented gameplay, the trend became undeniable. Oblivion had already streamlined many Morrowind's elements, such as removing some skills, introducing quest markers, and also implementing the universal
I don't see simplification as a real issue. Um, Oblivion systems were really cool. I really enjoyed them, but let me see how I'm gonna phrase this. In Oblivion, I didn't really get to just play the game. With how much was going on in Oblivion, because Oblivion was very detailed game. It had a lot of intricate systems, a lot of different things that you have to worry about. Sometimes simplifying the game is better. It is much more new player friendly as well. That let's just get that right out of the way. Simple games are 100% better for new players than highly complex games. And that's still true today. I mean, look at fucking Elden Ring. Elden Ring is so insanely fucking simple. It's so insanely simple. You want to do more damage? Fucking throw everything into strength. You know how I know that works? Because fucking Asmongold did that shit. And Asmongold's a terrible gamer. But he knew to be able to get stronger, the simplest thing to do is +1 to strength. And he just did that shit a lot. Oh shit, I'm fucking getting two shot. Well, guess I need more health. +1 to health. It's an insanely simple game that explains the basics, the only few things you need to know, and then after that, you're just tossed out into this world with a bunch of people who want to kill you. But it works. It works because it's so simple. It's easy. Anybody with a brain can figure it out. If you struggled, then it's most likely because you, as in the individual, weren't paying attention, you weren't reading, you weren't using your brain at all. Skyrim was the same way. Not nearly to the Souls-like level that Elden Ring is, but um, in its own way, it was completely simple. You could figure things out. You could figure things out if you just literally used any part of your brain. Oh, fuck. I can't make this dagger that I need. Well, I can't make this axe that I want. Oh, my smithing level's low. How do I get my smithing level up? Oh, that's right. Maybe I should go talk to a smith. Well, guess what? When you go to the smith, what is the one thing they offer you? They teach you how to fucking smith. And then you use your fucking brain. You say, okay, they're going to teach me how to smith. They gave me the materials. Let me go smith a fucking dagger. Oh, that gave me an all right fucking boost in levels. Let me go make 100 more fucking daggers. And granted, that's highly excessive. Making fucking 100 plus daggers is ridiculous, but that's what you had to do. In order to get to where you needed to go in Skyrim, you had to be able to use your fucking brain. I think that's lost, and it's kind of scary because Xbox is also doing something that is scaring the fuck out of me, which is with their implementation of AI. They're looking to add a AI companion into games where it removes that critical thinking part of the brain, and that pisses me off because like one of the biggest things that draws people into games is having to find or figure out systems that is implemented in an intuitive way. When they are implemented in a poor way, then obviously they can be very difficult to figure out. But when they're put in a very intuitive way, it is insanely easy for the player to pick up on it.
Universally disliked level scaling system, which
That includes
created
me.
a host of issues with progression. But Skyrim took these ideas even further, tenfold. Remember the beginning of the video?
Let's not just look at the last one and say, what does it need? I think most people, most fans will look at it and say, it's great, you should change the leveling, add spears, add crossbows, add this, and add some more races. And I usually approach it from, well, I want to know what skills are superfluous, that we should fold into something else.
Gone was the class system and many of the deep progression mechanics, replaced by a more streamlined approach inspired by Fallout. Attributes were stripped down, and the game leaned even more into action RPG territory rather than classic role-playing elements of the past. Clearly, from a business perspective,
I also think that's absolutely false. Uh, the reason why I still play Skyrim today is because the role playing experience was expanded upon. So Bethesda does a great job with this game at giving you a blank canvas. Like I said, you don't have to do the main campaign. You never had to do the main campaign. In 2011, when the game's initial release, when I played it, and well, when I played it vanilla, I should fucking preface that. Uh, when I played the game vanilla, I never, ever, ever, ever did the fucking main campaign. I was done with the Dark Brotherhood quest line before I even started the Dragonborn campaign. So it's kind of nuts because, like, I'm trying to think. Okay, so like, I think the few quest lines that I didn't do was the Companions quest line. That one I didn't do before the main campaign. The Thieves Guild quest line I did do, but I stopped. Like, when you have to start doing the different systems where you have to, like, or not systems, but the different, like, little side jobs that you have to do where you have to, like, go steal something out of somebody's house, or you go forge numbers on somebody's ledger or something like that. Um, when I got to that point is when I stopped. I did a few of them and then I stopped. I never, so I didn't complete that. The DLCs were non-existent yet, so I didn't do any Dragonborn DLC stuff or Hearthfire. I'm trying to think, what else did I complete before the main quest? I don't know if there's anything else that I actually completed before I did the main quest. No, I think it was just the Assassin's Quest line. I did that one, and then I remember going directly from uh I remember going directly from, what the hell is that fucking place? Dawnstar. And I went from Dawnstar all the way to Riverwood, and then I talked to the fucking Smith, and then I started my official quest line. Because I went through the dialogue where you, like, sit in the house and then you explain the situation and whatnot. And then I went and I literally just left. I just left, and I went down to the end of the road where you can either take a left, go straight, or take a right, right? And I went right. I went immediately right. And I ended up in Windhelm, and then I talked to Aventus Aretino, and then I was in Riften, and then I started doing the Thieves Guild quest line because when you get there, you talk to what's his fucking name, the redheaded guy. What the fuck's his stupid name, dude? It's just, I see his face, I literally can't think of his name right now, and it's pissing me off. Anyway, that's besides the point. Uh, and then from there, I transitioned into a thief for a little while, and then I was like, all right, I'm done with this. uh, and I wanted to move on to something else. So then I continued the Dark Brotherhood quest line. I got super, super fucking dialed into that. And then at the end of it all, the Emperor's dead. And now I'm like, okay, where do I move from here? So I got my shadow mirror and shit. I'm riding around. I'm enjoying myself. And then we go through the ending where it's like the fucking sanctuary gets attacked, and now I got these, like, cool assassin followers and shit. So then I show up to Riverwood and I start the main quest line and I enjoy that. And then that's when I kind of go around and I start doing side quests and buttoning things up and finding what the world has in store for me. Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. Oh, the college. Oh my god, I forgot about the college. I didn't complete that though till after I was already Dragonborn. Yeah, I forgot about the college. But yeah, other than that, it was truly something special. It really was.
Perspective, this was the right call.
Gonna be a long
Skyrim
video,
brought
lads.
millions of new players into the Elder Scrolls universe, and ultimately, whether this was an improvement or a downgrade comes down to player preference, much like the Fallout debate. However, players also noticed a shift away from the open-ended sandbox-style gameplay that once defined the series. Instead of the world being the true centerpiece, Skyrim increasingly centered around the player, designed to guide them, the players, forward with minimal resistance. More of a curated theme park of attractions instead of a dynamic role-playing sandbox of the past.
For every good addition or tweak to the controls or formula I felt the game aced, I can think of 3 others that were simplified, dumbed down, or completely removed. At this point, it seems like Bethesda is treating their series like a zero-sum game, where you can only add a system or feature if you cut another. A far cry from the aspiration of the earlier Elder Scrolls games to achieve something greater that has never been experienced.
I think that can be a fair criticism, but I do think overstuffing your game with systems and mechanics will basically turn the game into fucking World of Warcraft, where like there's only a few things that you need, but you're so overloaded with fucking like. Have you ever seen anybody who's like a fucking veteran WoW player, and you look at their screen, and like half their screen is taken up with different buttons and shit that you can press? Like, why the fuck would I want that? That's such an unappealing, unattractive mechanic to have in your game. It looks like shit. The fuck no, I ain't playing that bullshit. What the fuck? And I honestly think Oblivion was like the peak of that. You don't need any more systems. That was very good system detailed gameplay, right? You have durability on weapons you have to worry about. You have in order to become an assassin, you have to do an assassin-esque things to get their attention, and then they can bring you into the guild. Same thing with with the thieves guild and other fucking aspects of the game. I understand that sometimes simplification people don't like, right? But I do think having a more simplified game is always going to do much better than a game with a bunch of highly complex systems. Or not even highly complex, just a lot of systems in general. Like, I'm not trying to play a game to make it my fucking job. I'm trying to play a game because it's a hobby. I'm trying to wind down, I'm trying to shut my brain off. And maybe not everybody plays that way, but there are games out there for you if that's how you are, right? That's the same thing with like Baldur's Gate 3 is a perfect example. I didn't even think about that. Baldur's Gate 3 is a modern version of essentially like what Skyrim's main identity is, right? Baldur's Gate 3 is a super simple game. You have guardrails, right? You have guardrails, you have a linear path that you need to follow, right? And they do a good job at explaining to you the need to move forward without shoving you out the door. And that's exactly what Skyrim did. Because you will go to a new city in Skyrim and they're like, hey, who are you? And then they introduce you to somebody who's a part of some guild or something like that. They try to bring you into that quest line. And then during the quest line, you have an event that happens that requires you to kind of speed things along a little bit. And but it's not like you had to do it right then and there, right? So you have so like in the Assassin's Quest line, for example, you just got done getting set up at the fucking at Solitude, and you got to get the hell out of there, right? So obviously, your intuition tells you I should just go back to the guild, see what the fuck's going on. Sanctuary's probably in trouble, right? But you can also just say no. You could just say no, and you can go to Morthal. You could go to Dawnstar. You can go to fucking what is it, Windhelm, Markarth. You can go anywhere. You don't have to go back there. They do a good job at explaining to you why you should go back there, but you don't have to. And it's the same way in Baldur's Gate 3. Like, yeah, you could, like, you do got to deal with the tadpole, right? And your companions are doing a good job at explaining to you, oh shit, you know, and the different like cutscenes and stuff are like pretty good at explaining to you, oh shit, this fucking tadpole is gonna turn us into a mind flayer, and we have to get this thing removed or cured or something. But they also do a good job at removing that dialogue and just letting you enjoy the world on the different act levels, because that's how they do it. They have different acts. So that is the best way to implement something like this. Where it's like, yeah, we want you to be linear, but we're not going to force you to be linear either. So you could spend a bunch of time in Baldur's Gate 3 just fucking running around doing shit in different areas. But again, this is why I said, like, all of these games, all of your favorite games, they all have guardrails that keep you in these very specific, you know, paths. Like, yeah, you might be able to go fair ways inside those guardrails, but outside of that, you'll never see it. Skyrim doesn't have those. It doesn't have guardrails. You could just do whatever the fuck you want to do.
Before. It seems that in the minds of many regulars, the series has already peaked, and that is one mountain Todd Howard's team hasn't been able to climb.
For better or worse, Skyrim went on to
I can agree with this. Here's the deal. The hardest thing that Bethesda has to compete with now is not only what Skyrim was, but what it is today. Like I said, I still play Skyrim. I have 300 plus mods on my Skyrim right now as we are speaking. It is going to be difficult for them to put out a new Elder Scrolls that is going to beat that experience, because I have tailored it completely to what I want, my personal wants and needs for the game. So that's tough. So if I'm Bethesda, I'm thinking I have to make this next game the most insane game that anyone will ever play. But I still need to give that fresh experience that Skyrim gave to players. That's fucking hard.
influence games for the next decade through many different releases and even remasters, double dipping on their most die-hard fans while stuffing the deep pockets of ZeniMax. And then of course, we can't go forward without mentioning the mods. Since Morrowind,
Facts.
the community had taken upon themselves to fix Bethesda's flaws, like patching its many bugs.
That's like such a great meme. It's just like, it's like the worst thing Bethesda can do is try to fix a bug in their game, because then the modders have to go in and they have to fix 12 and 15 more bugs that they just introduced. It's so good.
Improving gameplay, and even creating entirely new content, cementing the
Facts.
not so healthy mindset.
Did False Scar ever get an update? As far as I know, I thought that one was abandoned.
Mods will fix it. But with Skyrim, the
Same thing with
modding
Beyond
scene
Skyrim.
exploded,
Wonder what the
leading
Beyond
to an
Skyrim
endless
team's been
stream
up to.
of new additions, some of which are still being developed to this very day. This modding boom not only
Skyblivion,
enriched
supposed to
the
be out
game,
this
but
year.
also laid the groundwork for something else, something Bethesda would soon exploit. Ultimately, this level of success convinced Bethesda and ZeniMax that they had found the perfect formula, but as we'll soon see, it wouldn't last. Around the massive success of Skyrim and previous titles, Bethesda entered what I like to call Bethesda 2.0, or rather 3.0, a strange new era marked by ambition and a shift in priorities. Bethesda, ZeniMax, began to expand aggressively, emphasizing their role as a publisher rather than just a developer. Like a kraken extending its tentacles, Bethesda went on a buying spree, acquiring a roster of talented studios, from id Software to Machine
Smart.
Games. Behind the scenes, however, Bethesda's growing influence and control over these studios began to reveal the darker side of the company once more.
You're not going to like what I have to say next.
Remember Prey from 2017? Some of you will, some of you probably won't, but Prey, or rather more specifically its IP, is a clear example of Bethesda's and ZeniMax's darker practices. Rewinding to 2009, ZeniMax had acquired the Prey IP from 3D Realms. At the time, Human Head Studios, the developers of the original 2006 cult classic Prey, was working on a sequel. By 2011, Prey 2 seemed to be on track, with a promising trailer capturing the attention of fans and media alike. By early 2012, development mysteriously stalled, with Bethesda claiming the game was delayed due to quality concerns. Human Head Studios, however, had a very different story. According to a developer on the project, Bethesda pulled the plug on what was described as a nearly complete game for reasons they called petty and political. By 2013, the Prey IP had been handed off to Arcane Studios for a reboot. Strange. Later, reports suggested that Bethesda stopped funding Prey 2 and marked development milestones as failed, allegedly putting Human Head Studios in an impossible position. When the studio refused a buyout offer from Bethesda at a quote, sweet price, fearing they would lose creative control, Bethesda simply waited out for the studio's contractual rights to expire, securing the Prey IP for Arcane without having to spend any more dollars on Human Head's version. Human Head Studios was left unable to recover, eventually shutting down years later. But the story doesn't end there. Human Head Studios didn't just close in 2019, they were picked up by Bethesda and turned into Roundhouse Studios. They ended up acquiring it anyway and all of its assets in secret, leading to a very weird $100 million lawsuit by Ragnarok Games for claiming both Human Head and Bethesda conspired to sabotage Rune 2, an RPG that Human Head released just before its closure, with Ragnarok Games being its publisher, as allegedly posed a threat to the Elder Scrolls. Prey, on the other hand, was rebooted in 2017 with Arcane Studios, but wasn't without issues. Some theories online claim Bethesda forced the purchase of other studios in the likes of Human Head, pushing them to a corner. But in personal messages with Rafael Colantonio, Arcane's founder, it clearly states that wasn't the case. The main issue was with the Prey IP itself, as initially they were reluctant to take it as it made no sense for the game they were making.
I'll admit it, I think that I was a little at odds with some of the management when the decision of calling Prey, that was very, very hurtful to me. That was
okay, right.
I did not want to call this game Prey, and I had to say I wanted to anyway in front of journalists, which is not my type. Yeah, I hate to lie. Not only me, but nobody in the team wanted to call this game Prey. Our game had nothing to do with Prey, but it was kind of like Prey anyway, it's a sales mistake because we didn't get the.
Wait, what? Say that again.
Prey. Our game had nothing to do with Prey, but it was kind of like Prey anyway, which was.
Our game had nothing to do with Prey, but our game was like Prey in a way. How the fuck am I supposed to get behind you if you disregard your own statement 2 seconds after you fucking make it? We didn't want to call our game Prey. I had to call the game Prey in front of cameras and blah, blah, blah. I could have backed you on that. I could have backed you on that. Saying our game is nothing like Prey. I could have backed you on that. And then to say our game is like Prey right after that, just like, what the fuck, man?
but nobody at the team wanted to call this game Prey. We had our game had nothing to do with Prey, but it was kind of like Prey anyway.
And then immediately tries to glaze right over it. Just tries to go right past it. Just fuck, man. You almost had me there, dude. I was about to root for this guy. Fuck, dude.
Which was it's a sales mistake because we didn't get the backfires from
the people who want the Prey made from the start. Yeah.
In the end, they produced a critically acclaimed title, but one that didn't achieve the commercial success they had hoped for, clearly making ZeniMax executives quite unhappy. So things took an even worse turn. Fast forward to 2023, Arcane then released Redfall.
And it already crashed. Okay.
Oh, here's the boss. Curator Gould. I killed her immediately.
Technically, Redfall is busted. From a design perspective, it's amateurish. It's clearly woefully unfinished. It's sold for $70 or more if you buy the deluxe editions, yet it has less polish and presentation than that of $20 indie games. It was unscrupulously marketed by Bethesda. It is just an absolute catastrophe of a video game by every single metric, and it sits alongside the likes of Fallout 76 and Anthem as one of gaming's biggest disappointments and cautionary tales.
The studio that once brought us the greats like Dishonored or even Prey seemed to suddenly
Anthem shot itself in the foot because I remember it being a very popular game when it came out on release. Everybody was playing Anthem, and even I got into Anthem, but they just didn't roll out any content. Fuck, you could have put me up there with no knowledge about the game, and I would have given you a full storyline. I would have given you years of content that you could have put out there. Oh my God. Like what? Like what?
be incapable of producing a functional title.
Oh, hey, there's Asmongold. Just noticed that.
A title that was completely out of pocket with its development history. But was the studio truly to blame here? Evidently, no, because reports later surfaced that Arcane didn't want to make Redfall in the first place. In 2017, a few months.
Who the fuck? Who cares? I don't give a fuck if you don't want to make Redfall. Your job is to develop games. Were you assigned a fucking shitty game? Sure. Sure. But it's your fucking job. That's like me going into work and saying, "Oh, I don't want to fucking do my job today. I don't want to do it." So then when somebody's fucking pipe bursts, I just don't go and fix it. And I just let the whole fucking place flood out. Cuz I just don't feel like it. That's fucking retarded. Stupid. Get to your fucking little office and make a fucking game. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I don't get to choose when I get to do my job because I don't like doing my job. Neither do you. Fucking get in there and do it. Quit bitching, quit complaining. Sure, sure, you could say it's not in our wheelhouse. Sure. But the best that you can do when you are given a project is to literally put your best foot forward. And if it flops, it flops. You've been given a green light to make a game that is new, that is different. Well, not even really different, but it is new. So why not put your best foot forward? Try to see what your crew can do. And if your crew can't handle, they can't hang. Oh well. You tried. You gave it your best, and then at the end of the day, when it doesn't work out and you did try your best, you can bring up that conversation where you said this isn't our style of game. And they'll be like, "Oh fuck." That's the gotcha moment. Sometimes you just got to put your head down and grind it out, and then when it doesn't work out, then you can bring it back up later. Then you can cut that wound wide open. People don't know that, man. You got to learn how to fucking corporate, you know? You got to learn how to corporate, man.
after Prey released, studio founder Rafael Colantonio left Arcane, and by 2024, he openly voiced his reasons for departing, stating that Bethesda did not want to do the kinds of games that they wanted to make. You see, there was an issue. Post their initial success with games like Doom, many Bethesda single-player games and IPs were disappointing in sales. Corporate Bethesda, ZeniMax, then thought by shifting to live service and multiplayer games would push revenue higher. It's the reason we got titles such as Wolfenstein Youngblood, Redfall, and, as you will soon see, Bethesda's biggest disaster.
I do think it was partly a culture shift as well. I'm not entirely blaming it on that, but I do know the Wolfenstein one especially came out around a time when the culture around that style of game was shifting outside of gaming, and that's when like the social politics, and we still see the fallen graces of solo social political games. And that game, unfortunately, with two female protagonists, was put under that same banner as a woke game, as a non-gamer friendly game. And that's really like when the war started between American gamers and American game developers.
However, this creative misalignment later took its toll during the development of Redfall specifically, with over an insane 70% of the original staff reportedly leaving the studio before the project's completion. It was yet another example of Bethesda's and ZeniMax mismanagement, and in the case of Human Head, aggressive manipulative tactics, leaving behind a trail of studios that lost independence, struggled creatively, or were simply shuttered. They even went to the trouble of threatening an indie Kickstarter studio for the name Pray for the Gods, claiming infringed on their Prey trademark.
If you're a fucking judge and you approve of that being a thing, then you're a fucking idiot. As a judge, you need to step down, you need to hang it up. You're not capable of doing your job. It's so clearly not. It's clearly not an infringement. And to be honest, if you're a patent office, you shouldn't be allowing that to be patented. It is not specific enough. It needs to be any sort of IP needs to be incredibly any sort of trademark, copyright, IP, anything needs to be very, 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 very specific and contextual towards what that IP is exactly representing. That's the reason why people are constantly losing to Nintendo IPs, is because they allowed Nintendo to put a fucking copyright on air, trademark on air, a trademark on a ball being thrown to catch a to catch a monster. That's why that IP is fucking retarded, because it's too general. It's insanely general. So what the fuck? Also, I wish the Power World team would have hit me up. I would have got them past all this IP shit without having to do hardly anything. Like, that's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy to me that they let Nintendo do that to them. Because if I was them, I would just leave Japan and I would base myself in America and fight it out in an American court. Because the easiest way that they could have shifted the tides in their favor would have been to reformat their company and base it in America. So instead of Pocket Pair being a Japanese developer, it would be an American developer. Because the IP rights that they have in Japan would not translate well here in America. Like, not at all. Like, any judge with common sense would look at that and say, no. Would essentially just say no. just because I don't think it would hold up in an American intellectual property court compared to a Japanese intellectual property court, because like Japan is very much by the book, which can be good in a lot of cases. I don't want to completely dog on Japan because it can be good in a lot of cases, but there is times where there is overreach, and I do believe Nintendo has overreached more times than it really needed to. So at some point, you got to be like, all right, yeah, that's enough. That's enough. Go home.
But back at Bethesda Game Studios, they had one more game up their sleeves in 2015, one that would pave the way for some of their most infamous and anti-consumer practices yet.
Let's go, pal.
Riding on the monumental success of Skyrim, Fallout 4 was hyped to no end. Most of these previous controversies went under the radar at the time, and so fans were eager to see what Bethesda could achieve with next-generation technology, especially with the introduction of the new settlement building system, a feature that Todd
That shit was
Howard
fun.
fueled further with his signature brands of enthusiasm and memory.
And one of the great things about having a fully dynamic game engine is all of this just works. All right, so the generators will power things through switches
That was a
that
good
require
meme, too.
power, lights and other items.
It just
And then you
works.
run wires that connect them all, and again, it just works.
Upon release, Fallout 4 proved to be a massive success, selling over 25 million copies and receiving
True.
near-perfect reviews across the board.
A lot of people loved
Bethesda's
it.
winning streak seemed unstoppable. At its core, Fallout 4 felt like a natural evolution of Fallout 3, a generational improvement in exploration and combat, but it lacked true innovation.
Another settlement has sent word that they need our help. I'll mark it on your map.
Many fans saw it as a further step backwards when compared to New Vegas and the originals, particularly in its role-playing elements. Criticism largely centered on the game's dialogue system and writing quality.
And so the scheme we had for dialogue was actually really simple. You know, if you look at it, and this translates to the PC, to mouse and keyboard as well. But if you look at a standard controller, the general gist was, A would be a positive response, X would be a neutral response, B would be a negative response, and Y would be a question. Okay?
Emil Pagliarulo had risen since Fallout 3 to become both lead designer and writer of Bethesda's titles. Following his philosophy of simplification and by introducing a voice protagonist, Bethesda's writing quality not only suffered, but also streamlined dialogue, which drastically limited player choice. Quests that once offered 5 or 6 unique ways.
That's exactly what I said earlier. This is why I said I didn't like Fallout 4 compared to Skyrim, because like I felt like part of my story was pre-written and I couldn't do anything about it. Where it's like Skyrim, like yeah, eventually you will have to become the Dragonborn to complete the game, right? But I can be an assassin for pretty much the whole playthrough, minus the final main quest, which is weird to say it like that. The final main quest.
Ways to proceed in earlier titles were now reduced to yes, no, or sarcastic responses.
If you're here to talk me into working on Liberty Prime, you can forget it.
What changed your mind?
Nothing changed my mind. I promised you I'd return to the Brotherhood, and I've kept my end of the bargain.
Do I need to remind you why you made that promise in the first place?
No, that won't be necessary. Tell Proctor Ingram to get her scribes ready.
Beyond the gameplay, the cracks in Bethesda's creation engine were also becoming impossible to ignore. Bugs, janky animations, and awkward interactions, hallmarks of Bethesda's games, were still present in 2015. By this point, players began to lose patience. What had once been viewed as Bethesda's quirky charm now felt outdated and inexcusable. Criticism of the aging engine became far more vocal, with fans calling for a much needed upgrade, especially when open world games like The Witcher 3 were released that same year. But did Bethesda listen? Well, they didn't. They set their sights on yet a new prize. They were about to hit the beloved modding community. On April 23, 2015, just months before Fallout 4 release, Bethesda, in collaboration with Valve, introduced the idea of paid mods through Steam's workshop for Skyrim and in the future Fallout 4. On the surface, it was marketed as a way for the modding community to earn revenue for their work. A noble
W.
sounding idea. After all, the community was deeply entangled with Bethesda's games. But that quickly unraveled under scrutiny, much like horse armor before it. The revenue split was where things took a truly absurd turn. 75% of the profits would go to Valve and Bethesda, while the modders, the very people creating the content, would receive a mere 25%. Backlash was overwhelming. The gaming community erupted, voicing concerns from ethics, the future quality of mods.
I'm surprised they got 25%, if I'm being honest. I hate to be that guy, but like, that's kind of nuts. Like, 25%. It's kind of crazy. It's like, I hope people understand, like, at your job, like, if you make 100K a year, you still probably only make like 0.0001% of total revenue, like 0.00001%. So the fact that they get 25%, so if they get a mod, right? That's kind of like I want you guys to understand. Like if you just use your brain and do some math, like this is actually kind of gnarly. So if you have a mod that is put this up over here. If you have a mod that is that sells for, let's say, let's do a calculator so you guys can see. Let's say you have a mod that is $5. Okay. You have a mod that is $5. And you multiply that by one 1 million downloads, right? Go ahead. What the fuck? So you got 5 million. What the fuck is this shit? This shit's not gonna work. Jesus Christ. Anyway, I'll just explain it. So you have five. So you have something. Let's say you made a home mod, and it's $5, and you sell a million of those, right? So you have 5 times a million, $5 million, right? So you take 5 million. Okay. And you divide that. Or no, hold on a minute. It's not divide, I'm an idiot. Look at that shit. Times it by 25%. So 25% of 5 million is $1.2 million. That's crazy. Let's just say, let's say you only got $500, or yeah, let's just say you had a mod for $5 and it sold 100 times. You have $500. Okay, they take their splits, and you do $500 times 25%. You still make $125. So you made a mod that posted up on Nexus makes you $0 minus like fan donations or whatever. But then you put that same mod on the Creation Club, and 100 people buy your mod, and you now have $125 that goes directly into your account. I'm fucking sorry. What are we bitching about again? I'm just trying to find trying to trying to find the need. Like, they provide you the platform, they provide you the game, they provide you all of the upfront cost and investment. On the only thing you have to do is make a piece of content, and you get 25%. The fuck? Like, granted, like, I kind of fucked this whole thing up trying to do it with a calculator so you guys could see the calculations, but uh the point still stands that that's an insane split. Only a fucking retard wouldn't take that split. Like, you're originally going to get 0. You're going to get nothing, not even a penny. And now if you have a mod that gets 1 million plus downloads, you're a fucking millionaire? I'm sorry? Oh, fuck right off. The only people who disagree with this are stupid people.
And of course, the revenue split. This is going to be
And of
one of
course
the
it's fucking
biggest
Reddit.
industry mistakes ever.
Retards.
The consequences
Reddit
are
retards.
going to be disastrous in the long term. The backlash wasn't just mean comments or review.
And you still have free mods, by the way. You don't have to buy anything. It's still free.
Bombing. It was creative. Players began mocking the system by uploading joke mods like an extra apple priced at $35. The sheer absurdity of it became symbolic of the larger problem.
I mean, we've already had drama within the modding scene where modders borrow content from other mods, compilation mods for instance. What on earth ends up happening if...
Obviously, it needs to be policed. Like, you can't just let people, like, steal other people's content. And that's why, like, when you're, like, on the modding pages and you're, like, scrolling through descriptions and stuff, people will say on there whether you have the permission to use this content or not.
that starts to get monetized,
And they will also post their
Jesus,
permission that
the
they got
amount of
from you.
conflict that's going to be involved there. The long-term monopolistic implications of this are potentially disastrous, but simultaneously the power is in the hands of the consumer.
Over the following days, the situation escalated into what felt like a battleground of the century between Bethesda, Valve, and the gamers. A petition opposing paid mods quickly gathered over 130,000 signatures. The pressure
130,000 fucking idiots.
became impossible to ignore, and less than a week later, the system was shut down. Gamers
Temporarily.
chanted their victory, but Bethesda wouldn't go so quietly into the night. Remember DLCs? While controversy surrounding them didn't end with Fallout 4, this time Bethesda found themselves facing even greater backlash, including a
Didn't even go anywhere. It just got rebranded. Instead of doing it through Steam, you do it through. I just want to make this known that the paid the paid modding is still here. Like it still exists. It's on the Creation Club. You could literally buy content from some of your favorite modders in a way to support them. And I don't know if it's still a 25% split. I hope it is because goddamn, that's some fucking money. That is money. You can make a living off of that. That's crazy.
class action lawsuit. When Fallout 4 was announced, Bethesda offered a season pass that promised access to all future DLC for the game, and later in 2017, Bethesda, still eager to capitalize on the idea of paid mods,
This is not specific to Bethesda. There have been several companies that have rolled back season passes, and this includes even I'm pretty sure like Monster Hunter Wilds. No, not Wilds. Uh, what the fuck is that? It's not Monster Hunter at all. It's a different game that I'm trying to think of. Uh, no, it's a fuck. What is the goddamn game called? Whatever. I'm not gonna keep wasting time in this video. We're literally 2 hours and 10 minutes in. Um, you can look it up yourself on games that have season passes. There's several games that have stopped doing full season passes. It only gets you like the first 3 DLCs. That's it. That's all you get. And that includes a game like Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. They have so many fucking DLCs at this point. If you bought the season pass for Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, it was valid for a while. It is no longer valid. It's no longer valid. You still have to buy the DLCs for like the future sagas and shit. So, something to note. Uh, season passes don't mean dick anymore. So don't waste your time buying them. Okay? Unless it specifically states that it is all DLCs. And I do know that Steam has rolled back on this hard. Like if a company does this nowadays on Steam, Steam will actually hold them responsible, which is why I think it's one of the best platforms because it is absolutely more consumer friendly than an Xbox Game Store or a PlayStation Store or anything like that.
mods introduced the Creation Club for both
But yeah,
Fallout
it has been
4
noticed.
and Skyrim. What is the Creation Club? Good question.
Introducing Creation Club, a collection of new game content for Skyrim and Fallout 4, including new weapons, new armor, new outfits and accessories, new crafting and housing features, even new gameplay enhancements. Using Creation Club is easy. Browse the selection in-game by category and use credits to download right there.
Put simply, it was Bethesda's way of rebranding paid.
Yeah, and again, I don't think it's fair to go just at Bethesda because they're the least aggressive. And on top of that, players can get paid through the Creation Club program. Whereas you have dozens and dozens and dozens of other games that are even right now active that you get nothing. I mean, fuck, we got Warframe that has been running for I don't know how many years since that game's came out. And it's always been live service, microtransaction based game. And it's still I wonder how it's doing. I'm gonna be honest. Let's look right now. I'm about ready to just say fuck it because this video is so goddamn long. Pull this up so I can fucking focus a little bit here. Warframe. Let's see how Warframe is doing on Steam charts. Still alive. From 2013, and it's still alive. That's crazy. That's insane. And they maintain a pretty decent average for a game that's been out this long, and it's 100% live service.
Mods without actually calling them paid mods. Instead, Bethesda presented it as a platform for creations or mini DLCs, with Bethesda themselves as well as external developers, the community, creating content. To purchase.
Also, you do have the option to not buy anything. I hope everybody knows this. Like, the way to get these type of systems to stop if you really don't like it is don't buy anything.
Said content, players used Creation Club credits, which were only obtainable
The
with real
responsibility's
money.
on you
In
as the
essence,
consumer
Bethesda had
to
engineered a
not make
system with
these
near
practices
infinite
rewardable.
horse armors, all under their control. While fans voiced their frustrations, the outcry wasn't as intense as before, and as a result, the Creation Club stuck around even to this day, albeit not without controversy. It wasn't long before the legal complications began. Attorneys from the X-Law Group argued that the Creation Club content purchased with credits, which were themselves bought with real money, constituted DLC. This sparked a significant problem. The Fallout 4 Season Pass had promised all future DLC. Creation Club content, despite functioning as DLC, was not included under the Season Pass. This led to allegations of false advertising, and a class action lawsuit was filed against Bethesda, arguing that they had misled consumers by monetizing content outside of the Season Pass agreement. While some view this as a gray area, and technically mini DLC is not actual DLC, and yes, this is something that the head of marketing, Pete Hines, actually said. Regardless, the legal challenge persisted, yet as late as 2021, no significant updates on the case have emerged, leaving its outcome and Bethesda's accountability.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. If your season pass says it includes all DLC, regardless of the size of the DLC, uh, and that was the original agreement, then it is clearly in violation, and you should be fined. You should be fined a massive amount. But the thing with this is, like, even though me and you might agree and we might say that, millions of people bought said DLC. So we also gave them funding to be able to fight it as long as they're going to fight it, to the point to where people are just going to forget. They're going to forget about it, probably settle out of court. Nobody's going to bring it up because it's never going to be like headline news nowadays anyway. But yeah, it's just it's one of those like things that are just never going to be punished unless it's like truly cracked down on by the government, which I don't think it will, because you gotta remember, like, the people in the government, they're like 70 fucking years old. They never played a video game in their goddamn life. They don't know this shit's going on, and they don't give a fuck anyway.
Uncertain.
So
But
yeah,
Bethesda did not stop producing games and angering the gaming community. In 2018, they were in for a rude awakening, one that involved multiplayer chaos, a broken launch, and perhaps
yeah. I mean, this is gonna happen. They don't know how to make online games. I mean, it's a thing. It happens. Everybody knows Fallout 76 is a dumpster fire, but the only difference between like a Fallout 76 and what's another online game? can't really think of another online game that came out, had a bunch of issues, they fixed it, and then it kind of had a resurgence. Most of those games, when it comes to online games, they just die. Single player games, they can kind of come back, but uh, I don't know any online games that made a recovery.
Bethesda's most infamous misstep to date.
In Vault 76, our future begins.
I do remember that. People were so hyped.
Fallout 76, the game that was supposed to be what Fallout fans dreamed of for nearly a decade. Or so, Todd Howard promised.
It is 4 times the size of Fallout 4. And this time it features all new rendering, lighting, and landscape technology. It allows us to have 16 times the detail and even view distant weather systems across the map. I read on the internet that our games have had a few bugs. All of this just works. I'm not kidding.
Released in 2018, Fallout 76 turned out to be an unfinished, unpolished disaster. It launched with game-breaking bugs, rampant exploits, duplication glitches, and a baffling lack of basic features like a voice or text chat.
And none of this crossed their minds since they couldn't even be bothered to put in a fucking push-to-talk feature at launch!
Even worse, Bethesda fixed the poor NPC and dialogue quality of Fallout 4 by simply removing NPCs entirely.
A game with no NPCs, no narrative, no meaningful RPG, no hub areas, no real gameplay loop. It reduces the franchise to a dull looter shooter where the loot is literally garbage and the shooting is absolutely terrible. It's the least amount of effort or design work that you could put into this and still call it Fallout.
The media and gamers' backlash was reaching a point of no return.
This is fucking retarded. This is retarded. Don't do this. If you're this guy, I really hope you go to jail for the rest of your life. You're a piece of shit. You're actually a piece of shit. And this is what I hate about America, right? Like, if there's one thing that I was gonna say, fuck my patriotism, I hate this, it's this. It's people who are too stupid to realize that they're not going after the right people. So no change actually happens, but people's lives get ruined. It's fucking so stupid.
The most egregious issue, though, was its monetization. You see, despite being a full-priced game, it didn't matter for how cheap it was discounted or even given away, as it was filled with microtransactions, including absurdly overpriced items in the Atomic Shop, such as an $18 microtransaction for a single skin. There was a solution to all of this, of course: mass refunding and let it all burn. And as it turns out, Bethesda reportedly offered refunds after 24 hours. But as the word quickly spread, Bethesda, seeing the influx of emails, started refusing said refunds, simply stating it is not eligible.
This is why you need these platforms to be enforcing this. You have to. You have to have some sort of oversight over this industry. If it can't regulate itself, then it has to be forced into regulation. Straight up.
Leading to yet another class action lawsuit for effectively false advertising. Adding insult to injury to its claims of false advertising, Fallout 76 special $200 Power Armor Edition promised a premium canvas bag, but players ended up receiving a cheap nylon bag instead. When fans reached out, Bethesda's support team delivered this now infamous response: "We are sorry that you aren't happy with the bag. The bag shown in the media was a prototype and was too expensive to make." The situation escalated.
That, again, this is where the regulations need to come into play. You have to have oversight over these companies so that they can't get away with this bullshit. Listen, I've done a lot of defending of Bethesda today. But at the same time, the criticisms the criticisms are there. I don't want people to think that I'm just blind to the criticisms. Obviously, this is bullshit. And people should be held responsible. Will they? No, because everybody in parliament is like 2 days away from death. So they don't even know this shit's going on. So until we start voting out those old ass geezers and we start voting in young people, 30-year-olds, right? 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, people who are young, so that they could have had a chance to be a part of these worlds, understand this type of shit that is going on behind the scenes. No policy will ever get put in place that prevents this type of, taking for granted.
When it was discovered that the canvas bags did exist. They had simply been given to influencers promoting the game months before.
Fancy backpack here.
Sorry?
Got this fancy backpack here, and I'm just filming.
Fancy backpack. We've got this fancy backpack here.
In response to the outrage, Bethesda offered affected players 500 atoms, approximately $5 of in-game currency. That will surely make them happy, but ironically, it wasn't even enough to buy a Millman skin that came with its own canvas bag. But it gets worse. When Bethesda finally agreed to produce replacement canvas bags, their website, true to Bethesda's buggy reputation, leaked personal data. Hundreds of affected customers reported.
I could have told you that. You know how bad their fucking site is, dude? Oh my god. I remember trying to use that site to get mods when I was on Xbox. And my god, this shit was ridiculous. Oh, it was so buggy. It fucking didn't want to load. And then half the time, none of the images would show up when you were looking at a mod that you wanted to add for your Xbox. It's crazy. Like how do you, what are you doing?
That seeing support tickets from other people, containing emails, credit cards, and personal addresses. Fallout 76 was an abject failure in every possible way, an embarrassment that burned through any goodwill Bethesda had left. It didn't just anger fans, it turned Bethesda into a meme, a cautionary tale of corporate greed and mismanagement in pursuit of a life service goldmine. To make matters worse, Pete Hines, the head of marketing, was often seen dismissing community questions and concerns, failing to engage with its players.
I don't know what the fuck is going on with Pete Hines. I don't get it.
Even stating that fan criticisms won't define what we do, effectively saying we are making a product that our consumers don't like, so we won't change anything and expect that they buy it anyway. He left Bethesda in 2023. But the communication breakdown wasn't limited to Hines. The same problem happened internally. Remember Emil? Once again serving as one of the lead designers and writers, Emil was criticized by former developers. In a report from Kotaku, it was claimed that Emil didn't seem to want to be involved with the product at all. He didn't want to have any contact with it or read anything that we put in front of him.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I wouldn't either. If my latest product was Fallout 76, I'm not taking any questions. And if I did take questions, my only response would be like, yeah, it's a dumpster fire.
Emil never responded to these comments. As for Todd Howard, he was equally quiet, but eventually opened up about Fallout 76, responding 1 year later.
We knew we were going to have a lot of bumps. That's a difficult development. A lot of those difficulties ended up on the screen.
I mean, I'm not going to get on Todd for this. I remember this interview. He basically just said the PR speak of like, yeah, we fucked up. Um, yeah, I can't really fault him for that. He's just pretty much reading, well, not even reading. He's just fucking saying the things that his PR team told him to say, essentially.
screen, and we knew, hey, look, this is not the type of game that people are used to from us, and we're gonna get some criticism on it. And a lot of that very well-deserved criticism. There's a period once you launch. It's not how you launch, it's what it becomes.
Effectively saying they knew it was going to be bad.
Now that part's the part that I disagree with. I think all games should be 100% good at launch. I don't need any more Cyberpunks. I don't need any more No Man's Skies. I need fully feature complete, non-buggy fucking games. All right, I don't need a Monster Hunter Wilds, although Wilds is fucking lucky that they were still successful, even though their game is so dog shit that I have to run it on medium graphics because they didn't optimize anything for PC. Fucking pieces of shit.
Bad, but could fix it later, and that was technically true. Fallout.
And I remember when the controversy came around for Starfield that people were trying to defend it by saying that the Bethesda game isn't a Bethesda game until 2 years after launch or whatever. Fuck you. The Bethesda game should be good out of the gate. Okay? Should be good out of the gate. Straight up.
Fallout 76 has
They don't get a
improved
pass.
significantly in recent years. It now holds mostly positive reviews on Steam, thanks to ongoing updates. However, the game is still heavily monetized, featuring microtransactions and an optional subscription service on top of its buy-to-play model.
How is it doing, by the way? Oof. Oof. Jesus. In the past month, they maintained about 10,000. Past year. Yep. Better than I expected. I'll say that. I thought it'd be like 1,000 maybe.
Model. This subscription, Fallout First, became hilariously infamous when a fan preemptively trademarked the name, creating a mock website that satirically highlighted Fallout 76's many flaws in all their glory. Ultimately, Bethesda banked on fans' love for its games that they would forgive and forget. Just like before, mods will fix it, but for many fans, the damage was already
Yeah, they did irreparable damage to themselves with this game in Starfield.
done. With the backlash from Fallout 76 still fresh, Bethesda desperately needed a win. So at E3 2018, Todd Howard took to the stage to announce not one, but two major projects: the mythical Elder Scrolls 6 and Bethesda's first new IP in over 25 years. Not only that, was the first ever new IP designed under Todd Howard's leadership and Emil Pagliarulo. Remember, the Elder Scrolls was taken over and Fallout was bought from Interplay. The game? A sci-fi RPG called Starfield.
It had so much potential. I don't think you guys understand how good this game could have been if they would have really just put the fucking effort in.
The concept of a Bethesda space game was enough to ignite imaginations. Fans dreamed of an open-world RPG set among the stars.
There was
a
so
blend
much
of No
hype
Man's
for it.
Sky exploration and Skyrim-style gameplay. Perhaps a return to Daggerfall's procedural generation. The possibilities felt endless. But then Bethesda went silent, leaving Starfield's development shrouded in mystery for the next 3 years, while Bethesda quietly released mobile games, some of which sparked lawsuits because why not? Then, in
Why
September
not?
2020, Microsoft announced plans to acquire Bethesda and all their IPs for $7.5 billion. While concerns about exclusivity were raised, many viewed it as a positive move, from Game Pass to hoping Xbox boss Phil Spencer could rein in Bethesda's quality control. By 2021, the deal was finalized. Todd Howard stayed on as Bethesda's game studio's director, stating that he was hopeful that launches like Fallout 76 wouldn't.
We'll say Starfield is definitely an improvement over fucking 76. Fallout 76 was awful. And if they would have kept up, they would have went out of business. Because you can imagine that Elder Scrolls 6 would be the same as Fallout 76. Like it was just terrible. And I do think there is a bit of accountability also coming from Xbox right now because they finally fucking pulled the plug on 343 in the completely they're remodeling that fucking studio essentially by changing the name, getting rid of the fucking bad actors, trying to make Halo good again type shit. So I do think Xbox is in a growth period where they are starting to understand that they can't stay the same either. That's why you got the Xbox handheld. They're getting rid of the Series S. Thank fuck they're getting rid of the Series S. What a piece of shit console. And they are focusing on doing mainline hardware in the Series X or the future iterations of said system. And the handheld is taking the place of the Series S. So you still have a budget docking option, which I think a lot of people may end up preferring just because of the mobility of being able to play your Xbox games whenever. Now they're doing a joint thing with Asus to make the handheld. I don't think I like that. Asus is notorious for having the world's worst customer service. I fucking hate them. Uh, so I don't know. I don't know about that personally. But we'll just have to wait and see. Hopefully they're released and they're not a fucking mess.
Happen again with a better testing process under Microsoft.
76, while you mention it, is something where it's another sort of point in my mind with our relationship where when that game launched, you know, the litany of issues we had, and we let a lot of people down, and well, there was very little we didn't screw up, honestly. And one of the people that I called was Phil. I think it's great to have all of these games under one umbrella. Like, what does that mean at the end of the day to the games you're looking at? It's, for us, they're gonna be even better than the way we were gonna be doing them.
As for ZeniMax, Robert Altman, the man behind the curtain, the CEO that many could attribute to Bethesda's practices, had passed away a month before the deal was finalized, with other board members such as Robert Trump also passing away in 2020. The board had crumbled and with the acquisition was consequently dissolved. Quickly after, Starfield was delayed, but gamers took it as a good sign. Perhaps Microsoft was giving Bethesda extra time to polish the game. Hype soared yet again with cinematic trailers showcasing planet exploration.
You know, the funny thing is, Starfield still could be insanely good. And if I was Bethesda, I would switch gears. I would put all my effort into making Starfield amazing because it has the potential to be amazing. It really does. Uh, and then I would move on to after because what they need right now is they need not only a return to form, but they need to restore the faith of the fans. And the best way to do that is to do the cyberpunk route and take the time to really master Starfield. I mean, just go in there, fill it up with content, make the procedural generation actually make it feel like it's a completely new universe that you're in, a new galaxy, a new planet. Do all of that. All of it. Go in there, fill it the fuck up, make it a truly awesome, unique game. It still has the potential to be there. I think leaving it alone, letting it die, is the worst thing you can do. I honestly think that if they went in there and they said, you know what, guys, we've realized our mistakes. We're going to go into this game. We're going to polish it. We're going to add a fuck ton of new content, and they do it for free. Wow. And then if they want to recoup some money, they can make some extra content, and it can be like a DLC thing, like Shattered Space, but good. Shattered Space, but it's good.
And combat.
You can land into Atlantis.
Fucking let
but
me
you can
do it,
also
goddammit.
land
I'll
and
fucking do it.
explore anywhere on the planet. And it's not just this planet. It's all the planets in the system. From barren but resource-heavy ice balls to Goldilocks planets with life. And not just this system, but over 100 systems. Over 1,000 planets, all open for you to explore. We can't wait to see what you find.
Even Phil Spencer seemed excited.
Super excited. I am. So I think I'm on my 15th
A lot of people
playthrough.
were.
I'm probably 200 hours in, but not on one playthrough.
September 2023, Starfield's release day arrived, but when most players finally got their hands on the game, disappointment was immeasurable.
I've been waiting a long time to play another true Bethesda RPG. I don't think it's a bad video game, but it is quite mediocre, and it runs its course way quicker than any of the other Bethesda.
Yeah, it's like the most 5 out of fucking 10 non-offensive game ever. It really is. It's bad.
The RPGs I played. It was also very controversial. I mean, a lot of people love it. Others really hate it.
There really isn't anything overly ambitious about this game.
Facts.
Procedurally generated, soulless, empty worlds to explore isn't
Facts.
fun.
It is an open world exploration game with little to no actual meaningful exploration. It is a glorified looter shooter that is still catching up to games that are now old enough to be in high school. And it is a role-playing game with so few meaningful roles to actually play and relationships to engage with.
Instead of the freewheeling space adventure fans expected, they found a game bogged down by gated exploration and lifeless, procedurally generated content. A return to the past, but done poorly. The sense of freedom and adventure, the heart of Bethesda's open-world formula, was missing. Bethesda's support team didn't help matters either, as players received copy-paste responses to negative reviews, adding fuel to the fire. And of course, Bethesda delivered on their age-old tradition, bugs, glitches, and an engine that feels like it belongs in 2010. But don't worry, mods will fix it. Looking at the numbers, Starfield wasn't an outright failure. It peaked at 330,000 concurrent players on Steam and reportedly hit 12 million players, including Game Pass users. Compared to Bethesda's past successes, and even Fallout 76, which had 17 million players by the end of 2023, it clearly fell short. But it wasn't over. Things took an even worse turn when lead designer and writer Emil Pagliarulo came to the game defense, claiming how hard video game development was, sparking
This is the part that's gonna piss everyone off. This is it. Don't fucking tell me how hard your goddamn job is. My fucking job is hard too. And so is the person down the street. So is the person in the next county over. So is the person in the next city and the fucking next country. We all got hard fucking jobs. Shut up. Quit crying. Okay? Who cares? Nobody gives a fuck. If you want to make money, make a good game. That's it. Plain and simple. I don't fucking care.
Debates and many YouTube
that's how
videos
majority
about
of people
his
are going to
role
feel.
and incompetence as a writer, and in particular for blaming gamers.
You think I give a fuck about your problems as a game developer? You brought out a game that didn't even have a fucking map for a city. You go through a loading screen to do anything in the game. Like, I don't care about game development problems.
What did I tell you? What did I tell you? I said majority of people are gonna fucking feel this way. I don't care. I care about your job. I don't care about your personal life. Go fucking cry to a therapist, you little bitch. Fucking make a game. That's all I care. You think I'm gonna bitch and complain when I'm fucking knee deep in fucking sewage water? You think I wanna do that shit? Hell no. There ain't no use in fucking crying over it. Sooner begun, sooner done. Get down there, fix the shit, get out. When you get home, take a fucking shower.
Problems, and also if it's a game development problem, then why do other game developers not have the problem? So don't blame other people for being mad at you for choosing to use a system that's bad. What are we talking about? I know they're trying, but it's not good enough.
And it didn't stop with the game's.
I hate to say it, but he's fucking based. That was some based ass shit. Like nobody cares. Nobody cares about your personal life. There's no use in bitching about how hard your life is, how hard your job is. It's not a competition. Nobody gives a fuck. Okay?
Release. After the DLC Shattered Space released to again poor community reception,
Oh my
reaching
god,
a
it's so
mostly
bad.
negative, Emil blamed fans' expectations yet again. Maybe it's a game of expectations. Fans want a lot, and we do all we can to accommodate them. When you blame your customer, you know you have your bearings in the right place, a practice that seems common at Bethesda. He has since deleted his Twitter, X.
Smart.
This left many to claim
He's
that
a fucking
Emil
idiot.
is yet another face of Bethesda's downfall.
And he's unfortunately, he was saying that shit in like the height of, not even the height, like we were on our way up to the climax of the gamer war. Like, and it's not even like, this isn't even a war against like developers outside of the US. This is specifically for the US. Because US game studios have fallen off so hard because they've been captured by ideologies, they've been captured by political bullshit, and they've let it ruin their games. They let it ruin the product. So people stopped buying. And then they got mad when we all said no. Fuck you. You don't have the fucking control. We have the control. If you want us to buy your fucking piece of shit, fucking $100 game, then you best make it fucking good.
Partially to be blamed for Fallout 76, Fallout 4, Starfield, and the decrease in quality of writing since Fallout 3. If Bethesda was a river, Todd Howard is the bottleneck, and Emil Pagliarulu is the man pissing in the river, claiming it's champagne. Starfield proved to be a disappointment more than a failure, a game that should have been greater than what it was. While patches have improved its standing to a mediocre, mixed rating, the magic that made Skyrim a cultural phenomenon in 2011 and all games before it feels long gone and forgotten, with many developers since leaving the studio embracing smaller or indie titles.
You know, our target audience is us. You know, someone said, well, who's the model guy outside the office? And I say, he's the guy who goes to the game store every week and goes, what's cool? You know, those people we're making the game for.
And with that, we come to the end. The story of a company entrenched in mismanagement, greed, and stagnation, even regression when it comes to design. Bethesda's once revolutionary vision has gradually faded, while games like The Witcher 3, Kingdom Come Deliverance, and Red Dead Redemption 2 have redefined open-world gaming, creating living reactive worlds, Bethesda is still playing catch-up. Once hailed as bold innovators with grand ideas.
And I was in charge of Morrowind, but by that time, once you get to that point, there was this element of no fear. Like, what's the worst that's gonna happen? We could go out of business. Well, let's go all in. This is the game.
Bethesda now seems content to simplify, recycle, and milk its beloved IPs, expecting fans to keep buying their half-baked products. Then there's Todd Howard. Once seen as just another gamer, he, along with Emil Pagliarulu, have become the face of Bethesda's decline. But even more concerning, as of 2024, retired developers have revealed that Howard has become the gatekeeper of Bethesda's creative direction, where every decision must pass through him.
Which means that one of the issues that the studio struggled with occasionally was, well, we can't move forward because Todd hasn't had a chance to look at it. Now, obviously, this wasn't something that was, completely a blocker because the games got produced on time.
Whether the studio simply grew too large for its own good, buried in bureaucracy and red tape, or Howard's leadership has declined over time, one thing is clear. Nothing will change in Bethesda's future games unless there's a shift in management and leadership. This brings us to Bethesda and ZeniMax as a company. The once beloved studio for the gamers, a scrappy indie operation at heart, has crumbled under the weight of corporate greed and mismanagement. Over the decades, Bethesda and its parent company ZeniMax demonstrated a troubling pattern of anti-consumer practices and questionable business tactics, not only towards the fans and gamers, but also towards their own employees and acquired studios. And here's the irony of it all. Rewinding to 1986, to Bethesda's inception, way before Elder Scrolls, Christopher Weaver, its founder, led Bethesda to develop Gridiron, the first sports game to feature a physics engine, a groundbreaking innovation that caught EA's attention, eventually approaching Bethesda to help EA craft what would eventually become the Madden NFL franchise. In exchange, EA would publish Gridiron. But Electronic Arts had other plans. They exploited Bethesda's technology and abandoned the deal, which led to a $7.2 million lawsuit that Bethesda ultimately settled. In a twist of fate, the bullied became the bully. As Robert Altman and ZeniMax took control, Bethesda slowly transformed into the very entity it once fought against, emboldened by success and unbound by accountability. And that's not even counting the myriad of other lawsuits I didn't include in this video. Meanwhile, the future of Bethesda Game Studios remains uncertain, now under Microsoft's ownership. How will Bethesda evolve in this ever-changing industry? Will they rise to the occasion, embracing innovation and reclaim their place at the forefront of gaming with Elder Scrolls 6? Has that bridge been burned? Or will they continue down the path of stagnation and regression, becoming a relic of a bygone era? Only time.
Yeah, like I said in the beginning of the video, I don't think it's completely eroded. But you can best believe they're one critical hit away from being just done. They'll be shot. Uh, how much Microsoft is going to get involved and really make them do what they were supposed to do to begin with? It's pretty up in the air. Uh, I wish I could say that they would absolutely change it to be what it was supposed to be. But I mean, we saw with uh the 343 that they let that go on for years and it completely killed the Halo franchise. So, I don't know. I don't know. It depends on like how much they are what's the best way to it depends on like how much they want to involve themselves with the management process. It's obviously, if I'm the what's his name, the fucking guy for Xbox, if I'm him, I'm just going up to Todd and whoever else the higher ups are at Bethesda, and I'm just saying, you can't fucking do this bullshit again. You do it again, and you'll find yourself completely bankrupt. And I really fucking grind that one in there. I'm like, you can either do it right or just not at all. Like, here's your timetable. I'll even extend it for you. Here's some extra money to increase your budget. You do it right the first time this time. Otherwise, you'll just cease to exist. Because I'm assuming that under this contract, Xbox has basically full control, which is the smart, contractual play to have. So we'll see. Hopefully it's good. Hopefully not. Somehow I've been talking about this for 3 hours. So if you guys like this crazy ass long video and my ranting, whether you agree or disagree, make sure you smash like, comment, subscribe, do all that shit. I did enjoy the video. I did. So make sure you go. Make sure you go to. Make sure you go to Selwyn. Give him some love. Okay, give him a sub. Give him a like. Okay, I enjoyed the video. It's very informative. There's even some stuff in here that I didn't even know about. Uh, as far as like more detailed stuff. Obviously, the big stuff I knew about. But I don't know how the fuck he's only at 29K. Come on now, you gotta get him up to at least a mil. Like that's crazy. So make sure you go to his channel, man. Give him some love. Give him a sub. Give him a like. I like this video. This is a good video. It's very informative. It has a lot of stuff in here that probably a lot of people won't know about. But that's it. I'm done talking for a while. I'm gonna drink some water and fucking get me some food. And if you made it this far in the video, tell me what your favorite pizza is. Okay, later. Peace.